The idea of creating all the content that a social marketer needs can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to feel that way. Let's break down some of the things that you should consider when developing content for social. The big thing you'll want to do is to think about your overarching content strategy, which should be based on specific social media goals. Content across all the social channels should vary in a few different ways. Ideally, you'll want to optimize your content for each specific channel. To do that, it's helpful to think in terms of campaigns. That way, you're tying every post back to a bigger social goal, with the idea of developing similar related assets to use on different channels without posting identical posts on each channel. As an example, Chiquita Banana did a multi-channel campaign for the 2017 eclipse. It included live videos shared on Facebook, a multitude of videos shared on YouTube, and across other channels, with fun graphical treatments of bananas as eclipses shared in GIFs and images.
I think the type of content that we develop for different channels has everything to do with the audience in those channels, right? So if you remember the memes that really made and were viral a few months ago where people were posting, right? So how they present themselves on LinkedIn, on Tinder, on Facebook, or on Instagram, right? So that's basically the same approach that we take here, right? So we just tailor the content to the platform that we are engaging because of the way people consume content in those platforms. So it's quite different the way people consume content on Instagram than Twitter, than Facebook, and other channels. So we are really careful to think about the media that we're using first before creating the content. So whatever we create is most relevant and most applicable to that specific channel.
There are several different components to think about when you're developing content: hashtags, text, call to actions, and tagging. Let's begin with hashtags. Did you know that Linchpin SEO found that tweets with hashtags have 2 times more engagement than those without, and 55% more retweets? Hashtags are used across most platforms, but you tend to see them most on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hashtags are formed simply by using a word with the pound symbol in front of them. They're used to help anyone who does a search on that hashtag to easily find related content. They're sometimes used ironically as well, and as a brand, you can play with that. One thing to keep in mind is that you shouldn't use too many hashtags. You can get away with more than 2 on an Instagram post, but on other platforms, try to limit to 2 or 3 at best.
So hashtags for us matter most on Instagram. It is where you can put the most hashtags, and that's the way that people find your posts. They can, of course, be following you, they can search for you, but it's going to be a brand new audience who's potentially searching for Boston or Massachusetts. And if we've tagged ourselves in those, we will show up. So that kind of widens our opportunity for new audience members, for new followers. So we really do try to include a lot. There's also some consistent ones that we use as just part of our brand. We always have shop indie, shop local. We always tag our cafe if we're including, businesses that are local and things to do in the Boston area. So for us, it is really important, of course, on platforms like Twitter, you are kind of limited. Facebook, it doesn't really have the same effect. In that case, it's probably more helpful to look at paid ads to get a bigger audience. But for us, it's just getting our name out there. Our bookstore is only a few years old, so especially for a young company, I think it's important to try and get as wide an audience as you possibly can, and hashtags are really helpful with that.
Jumping on a hashtag bandwagon is a good thing when it comes to trending topics and holidays, but make sure you have content that's relevant. Hijacking an unrelated hashtag to promote your material is spammy. Instead, tie in a product with an event that makes sense. For example, let's say your business is a restaurant. If you know that National Pie Day is trending, you can share content with your audience that highlights the type of pie you make at the restaurant. It's timely, interesting, and makes sense in the context of the hashtag, as well as being relevant to your product. Next, the text you include on your post is important to consider. We have a few tips for using text in posts. Check and double check your spelling. Make sure you are considering your brand's voice and tone. And think about the length of your text. On Twitter, with only 280 characters, you are forced to be brief. But in general, across all the channels, the shorter your message is, the better your chances of that content being seen and reshared. A call to action, or CTA, is one of the most important components of any piece of social content. True, there are times when you may not need one, particularly for awareness campaigns or on channels such as Instagram where links aren't allowed. But in general, you should think about how you can make sure a call to action is included in your content. This could be a link to click through to a blog post, a coupon, or asking your audience to respond in some way. Keep in mind that you need to make the benefit to your followers clear. For example, if you ask them to watch a video, what will they get out of taking that action? Your CTA should use active language. This includes words like download, like, buy, register, subscribe, donate, share, comment, secure, as in secure your spot, and watch. If you can make this call to action time sensitive, that's even better. We're all familiar with these types of phrases because they work. Some examples of time-sensitive phrases include today only, ends at midnight, for the next 24 hours. You'll also want to find ways to make this CTA stand out, either visually within the graphics you choose, or finding ways to highlight the details in your text. Make sure you include a link so you can track the CTA. And finally, tagging is important. If you're resharing content, give credit where it is due. Tag the person who originally wrote it or shared it. Tagging your posts can also be beneficial to help you extend your reach if your content is in conjunction with a partner, customer, or another brand. Just make sure that when you are thinking about tagging private individuals, particularly on Facebook, that you do so with their permission. Additionally, tagging photos on Twitter to merely alert someone about the content is considered spam. Now let's talk about developing the content itself. There are a bunch of possibilities for creating content, including creating it in-house to using a social content or social media agency. When it comes to creating content in-house, there are a number of free or low-cost content creation tools available, which I've listed here. Take a screenshot so you can remember them later. Fortunately, there are also a lot of free photo sites available to content creators, which I've also listed here. And finally, there are the video creation tools that allow you to quickly and easily create video content.
Probably one of the number one questions I get is like, where do I start? What if I don't have, content? I don't have this crazy slick studio like other big companies have. What I love to remind folks is you probably actually have a lot of great content already. If you look on your website, if you look in your marketing materials, you've already invested in great images, probably great video clips somewhere, and you can really start leveraging that. Even stills, right? Images can be used within video. You can pair images and text to make great videos for social. But the other thing too is honestly, like the camera in your pocket, your phone, these things the camera on these are just as good, if not better, than a lot of professional cameras out there these days. And when you think about, especially for use on the web or use on social, these screens are usually pretty tiny. So we're not blowing this up to a billboard size or showing these in theater. So the phone in your pocket is actually great.
If you're ready to take your content development to the next level, social media agencies are also an option that you can employ to help you do everything from creating and posting content to optimizing your digital social advertising content. Curating content for your social media channels is a great way to consistently stay active on each channel with less content, demonstrate industry thought leadership, and to build a community, all while saving time. So what is content curation? Content curation means gathering content that's relevant to a particular topic or area of interest and then sharing it with your audience. It doesn't mean passing off someone else's content as your own. So make sure you're linking back to the original author's content and giving them credit for creating something that was so good you wanted to share it with your community. So, why should you include content curation in your social strategy? For one, content curation saves time and money. You know as well as we do that creating your own content takes a lot of time. But when you turn to your community to see what they're sharing and what they're writing about that relates to your own business, you'll discover an entire world of existing content and ideas that you can share on your own channels. Secondly, content curation builds industry connections. When you shine light on other people's work by retweeting them or linking to their blog posts, you're showing them that you appreciate their content and you think it's worthy of sharing, which is a great way to build your network. Building industry connections through content curation can also help you extend your social reach. Let's say I'm a really big fan of a certain brand. If I find that your brand posts content from the brand I like so much, then I might check out your brand to see what you're all about. This will lead to increased social influence too. Sharing curated content also enables you to post a bigger variety of content. So let's say your own brand tends to publish and share a lot of blog content, but not as many videos. If you can curate and share some really great videos from other brands alongside your own blog posts, you'll be giving your audience more variety. So they aren't just seeing the same types of stuff from you time and time again.
So we do like to share, whether it's a retweet or if we're co-hosting an event on Facebook, we leave comments on Instagram. We really like that interaction. If it's something that we feel perhaps an author or another bookstore has said it better, we want to share that voice and, just let them speak it. If it's already been done perfectly, we don't want to try and change that in any way. But for us, it is also part of building relationships. It's that interaction, whether it's with a community member, a customer, or if it's an illustrator who's happened to stop by and is trying to promote their work. We really do try to just pick things up as they come. We don't plan any retweets or, any reposting. But if it comes up and we feel like it's definitely worth saying and worth getting out to an even bigger audience, we're more than happy to try and help that along.
Speaking of variety, if you're sharing content from others, then your social feeds are going to appear more diverse to someone scrolling through. For example, if I know that your brand not only publishes quality content that you create, but that you also publish industry news and other quality content in the industry, then I'm going to start looking to you as someone who really knows what they are talking about. That's right, content curation shows your diverse knowledge as a thought leader. I'll see you as the kind of brand that posts on social to create value for your audience, not just to promote your own brand. So what are some tips to curating content effectively? First of all, make sure you establish a good mix of promotional content and curated content. People get tired of brands endlessly promoting their own products, which is exactly why progressive brands think beyond products and features. The relationship customers have with brands today goes beyond the product itself. So, when you're posting on social media, we recommend an 80-20 mix. Only 20% of your social media content should promote your own brand. The other 80% should be dedicated to content that really, truly interests your audience, engages them in conversations. For the most part, curated content will belong in that 80%. Try to be consistent with how many times you publish curated content versus your own content on a day-to-day basis too. To figure out what content you should actually curate, keep your buyer persona in mind. What industry thought leaders do they admire? Which publications do they trust to stay up to date on industry news? What other brands that aren't your direct competitors do they follow and want to hear from? Use surveys and other methods to understand your customers. The best thing to do is to get on the phone with some of your customers who represent an ideal buyer and ask them who they follow and who they want to hear from on social. Knowing who your audience is interested in learning from will give you some great ideas for whom to keep track of and curate content from. Pulling from a consistent set of sources will also help you save time, but make sure you spread out the posts from the same sources. There are a few content curation tools out there that can make things easier. I've included a list of good ones here. Make sure you screenshot it and check them out for yourself. Before you choose the content curation tool you'll use, make sure you really understand the role content curation will play in your social media strategy. A one-person marketing team should start simple. Begin with the free options. And then as your business and team grow, content curation may play a larger role and require more powerful software. By now, you should have a solid understanding of the role content curation can play in helping you demonstrate industry leadership, post consistently, and build a community across all your social channels. To get the best reach and results on social media, you need to do more than just creating and spreading your social content. There are 3 parts to your strategy that need special attention: tagging, timing, and testing. First, let's start with tagging. Tagging means using a social handle or username of a person or business in your post or your photo. When you tag people or businesses in your social posts, you're identifying them and essentially linking them in your post. Don't confuse tagging with hashtagging, which is a way of grouping together posts that have all been hashtagged with the same words. So why is tagging an important part of your overall strategy? When you tag a person or business in your social media posts, your posts may appear on their profile page, depending on security settings. This can be a great way for your brand to get exposure to that brand or person's audience. On Twitter, when you tag a person or a business in a tweet, they'll get a notification that they were mentioned. This tag won't automatically appear on their Twitter feed. But if they retweet the tweet that you tagged them in, then it will be shown to their followers, leading to more brand exposure. When you tag a location in your Facebook and Instagram posts, then your post will appear in the feed of that location. And people do browse location posts, especially on Instagram. To tag someone on any social media platform, simply type the @ symbol and then start typing the person or business profile's name. When their name pops up, click on it to finish tagging them. Next, let's talk about timing. When should you post on different social media channels? How often should you post? How does timing vary depending on the network? Unfortunately, there's just no perfect answer to these questions. Good post timing depends on the platform you're using and how your target audience interacts with that platform. It can also depend on the regions and corresponding time zones you're targeting and your marketing goals, like click-throughs versus shares. What I can tell you is what the data says. And there is some good data out there that the folks at Sprout Social did on the best times to post in every social network. Before you rush off to dig into the data, I want to say this. Don't take this data as truth with a capital T. Every social platform audience is different. Test to see what works best with your audience. Check out the resources section for a link to the Sprout Social Guide. One thing to note, if you're posting the same content across different channels, make sure you consciously stagger the times and days so you don't max out your audience with a single piece of content.
When we are developing content, I think there's one thing that we never ask the agencies to do or we never put in our minds. It's for something to go viral, right? So there is no way to create something that is viral, right? So that factor is quite intangible to grasp, right? So the way we develop content at Popeyes, it's always with 2 things in mind, right? So really that the content is representing our brand positioning, our brand personality, our tone of voice. And the second thing is that we are always looking for content that it's unique and it's relevant. So the thing that really pushes us to do great work is to do things that have never been done before.
Finally, let's talk about testing. It's so important to test and tweak your content and posting times to figure out the best results for your business. We've laid out some great best practices here, but you can never know for sure which social media tactics are going to deliver results for you. Over time, you'll learn which social networks your audience favors, which post types they engage with and respond to the most, which post timing and frequency fits best with their schedule, and how they prefer you engage with them. As you test and tweak your content strategy on social, always keep your business goals in mind. There are a lot of metrics you could be measuring on social, from follower count and reach, to engagement rate, to response rate. But remember that at the end of the day, metrics like reach and engagement should be strategic and aimed at helping you hit your business goals. How is your social media presence driving brand awareness? How is it improving traffic to your website? How is it helping you move your leads through the buyer's journey? We hope this helps guide you as you not only create great social media content, but also expand your reach and get the most out of your content with tagging, timing, and testing. A social media content calendar will help you organize your social media activities far in advance, making it easier to coordinate campaigns, grow your reach, and scale your social media marketing. The template includes a monthly calendar, content repository, and a space for scheduled updates on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Pinterest. To get started, download the social media content calendar. In this tutorial, I'll go over each tab of the spreadsheet, highlighting nuances and giving you tips for maximum productivity. Let's take a look at the calendar and how you can use it to plan your monthly social media content. You'll be able to plan posts for campaigns, holidays, or specific pieces of content you'd like to promote across all social networks on a particular day of the week. This is the monthly planning calendar tab. In the top right corner, you'll see the key of the types of content or campaigns you might want to coordinate. Feel free to change this key depending on the types of content that you tend to promote. You will also see that you can write in the date next to or above each day of the week, and in the rows below, you can include specific details about your scheduled content or campaigns. Don't forget to swap out Insert Month plus Year with the particular month and year you are planning for. This monthly planning calendar tab can even be copied over 12 times and made into a calendar for each month of the year. Next, let's talk about the content repository. The Content Repository tab of this spreadsheet is designed to house your most commonly promoted website content in one place. As your inbound marketing strategy grows, you'll have accumulated an impressive bank of content, website pages, and offers that you'll want to resurface and promote via social media. To ensure you don't lose track of all that great content, record it on this tab so you're never at a loss for social media content. If the content you're promoting is not evergreen, be sure to include an expiration date in the column marked Expiration. Next is the Twitter Updates tab. Use this tab to plan out all of your Twitter content week by week. The first three columns are day, date, and time. In the message column, simply input the copy you'd like to appear in your tweet, bearing in mind you should keep it to 257 characters or less if you want to include a link. After you've composed your tweet, paste the URL you'd like to include in your tweet in the link column. In the column labeled Campaign, include the name if applicable. Your campaign should align with the same campaign name you used in other marketing materials. The example below links to a demo of HubSpot's Social Inbox product, so we included the campaign name Social Inbox, so the reporting shows how many tweets we sent about this particular topic and how well each performed. You can also include a link to an image file for reference, which you will learn to do later in this lesson. The character count section will auto-calculate the number of characters you've entered with a color-coded system to keep you on point. Green means you are in the clear and you'll be able to attach an image in addition to a link. Once you've hit 200 characters, the box turns yellow. This means you'll only be able to fit a link with no image. If the box turns bright red, that means you've hit 250 characters and you're running out of room to include a link. If you'd like to include an image, we suggest using 1024 by 512 pixels for Twitter images. Next up is the Facebook Update tab. Facebook's Update tab works just as Twitter's does, though there's no character count column. Facebook affords users a much longer text limit, so no need to worry about counting characters. Plan for when your post will go out under the day, date, and time columns. Then head over on to the column labeled Message and input the copy you'd like to appear in your status update. Move to the link column and input the link you're including with the post after that. If you'd like this update to be tagged to a certain campaign, include this in the Campaigns column to ensure you track all traffic that comes from Facebook. If you'd like to include an image, we suggest 1200 by 628 pixels. LinkedIn updates are next. LinkedIn updates work similarly to Facebook updates, though you should aim to keep messages posted more professional and less brand focused, while Facebook should have the inverse approach. If you'd like to attach an image to your post, we suggest 1584 by 396 pixels. Then there is the Pinterest Update tab. Pinterest is a highly visual social network, so make sure you focus on organizing images in this tab. You could do this easily by pasting a link in your Google spreadsheet or by attaching a document in your Excel spreadsheet. We recommend always organizing your images in a Google Drive, Dropbox, or desktop folder before planning and scheduling content for the week. For Pinterest, your most optimized images will be around 600 by 900 pixels. However, also keep in mind that longer content such as infographics could perform even better. In the message section of your Pinterest tab, keep the text short but searchable. You want to ensure the image is doing the talking for you rather than the text. Next is the Instagram Update tab. With Instagram updates, you'll notice you can't actually link to a specific web page or article from an individual post. To get around this, we've included a link in bio section to help you organize which posts needs promo links and which don't. If your Instagram post doesn't require a link, simply write NA in the link in bio section. For Instagram pictures, we recommend you post high-quality photos that are perfect squares of 1080 by 1080 pixels. If you're using HubSpot marketing, you can bulk upload your social updates into HubSpot. That's what the final sheet is for, Schedule. To learn how to upload your social posts into HubSpot's social inbox, check out the information in the full downloadable guide.
Hi, I'm Dane from HubSpot Academy. As a brand, there is a lot you can do to get your message into the social media atmosphere. But if you really want to amp up your overall reach, you need to get your message into the hands of others, both influencers and the users themselves, to proliferate the content. In fact, according to Edelman, 63% of consumers trust influencers' opinions of products much more than what brands say about themselves. And 58% of people have bought a new product in the past 6 months because of an influencer's recommendation. The fashion and beauty markets were some of the first to really embrace the idea of putting their products in the hands of influencers, both celebrities and real people, in order to promote their products. One famous example is Burberry, who back in 2009 decided to run a campaign that invited their customers to showcase their iconic trench coat. Their audience was delighted to help, and the photos started to pour in. They've continued to use this strategy throughout the years, and now Burberry is considered one of the top luxury brands on social media. The company's Facebook page now boasts over 17.4 million likes. Companies rushed to follow their example, which helped push many fashion bloggers and Instagrammers to fame as influencers. Individuals who talk about the products they love and because of their influence are now paid to promote. That sounds like a good reason to let others do the talking for you, doesn't it? Additionally, with the added challenges of General Data Protection Regulations or GDPR on privacy and changes in the platform algorithms that begin to limit brand exposure, it's increasingly hard to reach your audience. If brands aren't trusted, it will be even more important to rely on the voices of others to be heard.
Groups and communities are becoming a more relevant part of the social media experience. And so brands should be looking for influencers within those groups and communities and encouraging them to create user-generated content that can be shared in those groups and communities in an authentic way.
Influencer marketing and user-generated content, often called UGC, can help build customer trust and loyalty, extend your brand reach into audiences that may not follow you, provide social proof, and amp up your credibility, extend your budget, put you directly in touch with your audience, boost SEO, and enable you to get past ad blockers because the content doesn't come across the same way as a typical ad. By working with influencers and letting your audience help you market through content that they are generating, you'll be able to greatly extend your reach and build brand awareness. Let's talk about how you can work with influencers. Did you know that just 3% of people generate 90% of the impact online? Getting to know some of those 3% and finding ways to work with them is a valuable strategy for businesses looking to expand their reach on social media. There are many possibilities when it comes to working with people who are influencers. Let's break that down so you understand the variety of options. But before we do that, I want you to keep one thing in mind. Working with an influencer is not about you. Let me repeat that. Working with an influencer is not about you. It's worth repeating because to work best with an influencer, you need to keep that in mind. When you choose to work with an influencer, you want it to be mutually beneficial. What are they getting out of it? What are their goals in wanting to work with you? Now, let's discuss the various types of influencers and go over the choices you have framed through that new lens. What will each influencer be hoping to gain? First of all, there are celebrity influencers. Celebrity influencers are people you know from the entertainment world of sports, film, television, music, and more. But working with the likes of Drew Barrymore or Cristiano Ronaldo is going to cost you a pretty penny. There will be agencies, lengthy contracts, and strict rules about how you use their content and what they will do when working with you. Sometimes celebrities are bookable by influencer networks, but for high-end influencers, you'll likely be working with their talent agency or their agent directly. Influencers are interested in money, but also supporting brands and causes they can get behind and endorse in a way that makes sense for their brand. Industry influencers are people who might have celebrity status within a specific industry. For example, Elon Musk in the tech world, PR pro Brian Solis, marketer Mari Smith, fashion icon Chiara Ferragni, the points guy Brian Kelly, or Whole30 diet founder Melissa Hartwig. Industry influencers tend to have high topical relevance and are extremely influential in their specific categories. You can generally reach industry influencers through the gatekeepers within their own companies, or sometimes even directly. These individuals may be interested in money, but they are also looking for ways to build their own influence and to provide value to their audience. Journalists and media personalities are different than other types of influencers. Working with these individuals is a public relations play. Getting your favorite Wall Street Journal reporter to write about your product or company is not as easy as just calling them up and telling them how awesome your product is. You will likely need to hire someone who is great at public relations and comes with relationships that they can draw upon. Someone who understands the complexity of pitching the media and managing reputation. And even then, you'll need to provide your PR person with compelling, interesting stories that will interest the audience of the media you'd like to target. Media outlets want stories with real value, and better yet, exclusive information that will drive traffic to their website or their publications. Content creators come in two camps. Some content creators develop highly consumable content, such as this TikTok video by illusion whiz Zach King. There are also content creators who are behind the scenes creating content brands can leverage, like Ross Simmons, who creates amazing origami on Instagram, White on Rice. These individuals are looking to boost their paychecks, gain visibility for their work, while providing value for their audience. You can often reach these individuals directly or through influencer networks. To find emerging influencers, start monitoring the channels and see who people are talking about and which creators seem to be coming up in the ranks. Working with an emerging content creator can be economical and beneficial on a variety of levels. Next are micro-influencers. Micro-influencers are everyday people with large and passionate audiences. They share and talk about specific topics with enthusiasm, and they may offer exclusive events, contests, and content to build their reach through word of mouth. These micro-influencers are often free or inexpensive to work with, or will accept a gift card in exchange for their participation. Local influencers are individuals that are regionally influential. If you're a small business with a local audience, these are people who you might want to work with, whether it's an influential restaurateur, a local sports or news figure, or a local brand or entertainer. There may or may not be fees involved, depending on the nature of what you might be asking them to do. We've gone over the types of influencers, and I've talked a little bit about the fact that you might have to dig into your pockets a bit to work with some of these people. But how much do influencers really cost to work with? The short answer is the cost of working with influencers varies. But in the majority of cases, it's likely not for free. Digiday outlines several different ways that influencers are paid, including commission. Akin to affiliate models, influencers get a cut every time a promo code is used to purchase whatever they're selling. An upfront fee, reserved for more top-tier influencers, fees are paid up front, followed by a rolling commission-based model. Gift cards. Influencers, particularly smaller ones, will render services for a brand gift card per click. Used particularly by YouTube influencers, this compensates influencers every time people click on product links in their bios or in videos. Cost per engagement. Brands can measure engagement metrics, then apply them as an attribute against different platforms, so influencers get paid per engagement they receive. And invitations. Influencers receive party invites for exclusive events where it's normally difficult to get in. In exchange, they cover the event. Digiday also suggests that fees can range anywhere from $1,000 per 100,000 followers on Facebook or Instagram to a flat fee per photo of up to $200,000 for celebrity influencers. Generally, appearance fees start at about $30,000, and if you arrange for a commission as part of the contract, they're usually 25% of the sale. Of course, you'll need to adjust monetary amounts if you're in other countries. So you have a lot of options, which is good news. One last thing to keep in mind, however, is that you can and should also ask your own customer base and ask them to speak on your behalf or to help you create content. Their voice will carry more weight, and even better, it helps develop further affinity with your customers, which means they will be even more loyal to your brand. So you've decided you want to add an influencer component to your social media strategy. How do you decide who to work with, and how do you get started? Let's start by talking about how you determine who is influential. You want to work with someone who can directly impact the opinions and behavior of an audience that will potentially buy your product or service. Influencer marketing company Maverick suggests that 3 factors determine how easily influencers can impact behavior. Reach, the ability to deliver content to a target audience. Relevance, the strength of connection to a brand or topic. Resonance, the ability to drive desired behavior from an audience. Every influencer has some measure of these 3 factors, but you need to review each area to understand how they may be a good fit for your campaign goals. Is their audience relevant to yours? Does the influencer fit your brand tone and voice? Is their reach into an appropriate target audience deep enough? Can they evoke action? Then you need to turn the lens back on yourself. Will the influencer find value in the project you want them to take on? What is that value? Is it money, greater visibility, free product, or exclusive access to a person or an event? You need to be able to answer those questions as well. The best brand influencer relationships bring balance to the equation.
When working with influencers, it's important to do your research beforehand, making sure you find an influencer who is on brand to your brand. And then I would say once you find the right influencer, really trust them because they probably are more familiar with the audience you're trying to attract and the platform that they're most known on than you are. And so use their learnings to help you build a better strategy.
Let's talk about how these influencers can work with your brand. There are a multitude of possibilities for influencer campaigns. Here are some ideas. Influencers sharing brand content you've created, influencers sharing brand content that they've created, sponsored posts that feature the influencer, contests or competitions, events with face-to-face contact with the influencer, channel takeovers, let them run your Instagram for a day, live streaming events, road trips with influencers going city to city so fans can meet them, guest posts. So how do you do it? Here are a few tips. First, begin by building a relationship in social media. Follow the influencer, engage in casual conversation, share their content, and ask them questions. Mention them where it makes sense. Show that you appreciate and are interested in the work that they do. This type of engagement is easier with non-celebrity influencers. Just be careful not to go overboard or you'll be seen as spammy or akin to stalking them. Find ways to make it a win-win for the influencer. Your campaign should also help them build authority and further their own content or their reach. There are some simple ways that you can do this. Ask to interview them and include their commentary or quotes. Ask for advice you can share with your audience. Host an AMA, Ask Me Anything webinar. Get a testimonial from the influencer. Trust the influencer. They got there by doing something right. When you let them have creative license, they will really shine. Don't assume the script you give them is what the influencer wants to say or what their audience wants to hear. Giving the influencer guidelines and brand details is certainly acceptable, but trust them to know what their audience wants. Approach the relationships with an openness to collaboration and be ready to make a few compromises. If you don't know where to start, there are a variety of influencer networks you can work with, such as some of the following on this slide. One last thing to keep in mind when working with influencers, be aware of the laws and guidelines in your region. This is important when it comes to providing transparency in the relationship you have with the influencer. For example, in the US, there are Federal Trade Commission guidelines that must be adhered to or your brand may face fines. There you have it. Everything you need to know about working with social media influencers. Let's face it, most brands don't have the resources or expertise to compete with larger, more established companies with bigger marketing budgets. So how can you create high-quality content at scale? Well, one great way to get content is to crowdsource. That's right, get your customers and fans involved. Let's discuss how brands work with their audience to create value with their content. We call that user-generated content, or UGC for short. What will propel you forward is content that we call earned, or simply put, media exposure earned by your brand through word of mouth. Earned media is the type of media or exposure your brand has earned by doing something positive or negative. Earned media comes in various forms, including reviews and feedback, recommendations, press coverage and articles, amongst others. The reason earned media works so well to build relationships is because it places users into your media channel, turning attention away from your brand and onto your audience. The most important type of earned media is user-generated content, or simply content that your fans, customers, and followers are creating about your brand. In fact, according to marketing company YachtPro, 76% of consumers say content from past buyers, such as reviews and photos, influence their purchase decision. And the best thing about user-generated content, it's free. The pinnacle of earned media is user-generated content. Why? Because UGC helps brands understand their target audience. UGC improves site engagement and time spent on the website. UGC increases customer satisfaction through conversations. UGC provides means for other users to connect, which then builds stronger community. UGC improves the brand's search engine ranking and online visibility. UGC is inherently peer-reviewed, making it more trustworthy. More importantly, user-generated content creates a competitive advantage for brands that is inherently difficult to replicate because communities can't just be copied. It sounds great, right? But before you go ahead and ask people to help you create content, you should be aware of some of the challenges that working with UGC can bring. No brand control. Since UGC comes directly from users, the content creation is out of your control. This opens up areas for concern with trolling, negative comments, and various legal compliance issues, just to mention a few. Users may generate content that is off-brand or harmful. You are taking a chance when you open up your brand in this manner. Content moderation is a must. You need a social manager to help curate and moderate the content, engaging and guiding the community and rewarding those who really go above and beyond. If the content is being posted in a channel you own, the moderator will need to be able to manage negative and abusive content. If the negativity is on unowned channels, then you may need to involve PR from a crisis perspective to manage the conversation before it gets out of hand. No legal ownership. This is a tough one for some brands to swallow. If you aren't creating the content, then you don't own it. That means you'll require consent from the user before their content is reused or reshared. At minimum, provide acknowledgement that the content does not belong to you and source the original creator of the content. But don't let those 3 points scare you. There is tremendous advantage to tapping into the power of the crowd. For example, let's look at HubSpot's culture team. Using the hashtag HubSpotLife, HubSpot sources photos from employees all over the globe, showcasing how much we love working at the company. This does a few things. It helps promote our culture, it builds affinity with potential customers and with partners, it drives reputation, and it helps our recruiting efforts. And it also helps us feel even more cohesive as a team because we can directly relate to these photos. Sharing employee photos is an easy way for B2B companies to jump on the UGC bandwagon.
At Popeyes, we leverage a lot of UGC into our social channels, and not only social channels, but also on TV commercials, right? So the reason why we do that, and the reason why UGC is so important for us, is because Popeyes is a brand that it's loved by few, right? So few, not everyone have ever tried Popeyes, but those who have tried Popeyes absolutely love the brand and absolutely love the products that we sell. So UGC basically helps us to celebrate those moments, to celebrate that fandom, to celebrate that love, and really share it with everyone else. So that's why I think UGC, for us specifically, makes a ton of sense.
Wayfair invites their customers to share their latest purchases and decoration ideas on the hashtag Wayfair at Home. Not only are their customers doing their talking for them, but they are a part of a community of other people who love Wayfair's furniture and home solutions, building up affinity and word of mouth. User-generated content will only continue to become more and more important as platform algorithms change and organic reach is harder for brands to achieve. By giving your employees, customers, partners, and fans license and opportunities to talk about your brand, you are propelling yourself forward in a more authentic, holistic, and yes, inboundy way. So you love the idea of including user-generated content in your social media strategy. But how do you go about getting fans and followers to create content for you? First of all, you want to shift your mindset when it comes to how you think about your audience. Don't just push content at your audience and hope they respond. Engage with them directly instead. Make them want to be a part of the action, part of the team, or part of the community. Start with social listening. Find out what makes your audience tick. what grabs their attention, and most importantly, what they want. You need to understand your audience to be able to truly get them excited to participate in your call for content. You want to understand who is sharing, what they're sharing, where they're sharing, when, and why are they tagging your brand or your products. Next, search for conversations by location and hashtag to see how your audience is already talking about you. Boost them by resharing and highlighting their delight to your broader audience. Create 1 or 2 branded hashtags. Branded hashtags are connected to your brand or product in some way, but are really about your customers. Share these hashtags in prominent places and include them in your campaigns. Add your hashtags to your marketing materials. Ask influencers to develop content using one of these hashtags. And most importantly, ask people to share photos and anecdotes from events on a hashtag. One fun thing you can do to encourage user-generated content is to randomly reward your followers who are creating great content. They'll be delighted and more inclined to create additional content. Plus, when others see there is a possibility for a reward, they will feel incentivized to join in the fun. Don't forget to ask your employees to create content or to regularly share content on your branded hashtag. Your employees are your most loyal fans, and they can be a fantastic extension of your brand. You can also run contests asking individuals to create or do something. For example, a few years ago, Starbucks ran what they called a white cup contest. Customers across the country were asked to sketch on their Starbucks cups and submit pictures as entries. The winning entry would be the template for a new limited edition Starbucks cup. Nearly 4,000 customers submitted entries in a 3-week span. The contest was a great way for Starbucks to earn publicity and prove that it strongly valued customer feedback. Here are some things to keep in mind when running a user-generated content contest. Match the contest or the request to your audience. For example, if you ask fans to submit video clips sharing their experiences with a particular brand or product, you need to keep in mind that creating a video requires a certain level of technical expertise that some people are more likely to feel comfortable with than others. Adobe, for example, may be able to ask their users to do more technical things with their content than someone who is selling coffee. Request and curate content that you can use in your marketing campaigns. If you are running a contest, make sure the types of entries, such as pictures, video, or testimonials that you received will be useful for other marketing purposes. For example, in advertising. Make the effort required comparable with the reward being offered. If you are giving away thousands of dollars in value as part of your user-generated content campaign, you'll probably want users to demonstrate a more substantial level of buy-in than if you were offering simple coupons or discounts. If the prize you're offering is big, making participants deliver something of value in return guarantees you'll wind up with content you can use in your future marketing campaigns. Straighten out any legal issues before running a UGC campaign. Before launching your user-generated content campaign, you'd be wise to consult legal counsel on 2 important issues: the rights you'll hold over any content submitted to your promotion, and any restrictions that govern giveaways. First, you need to inform participants about what will happen to the content they create following submission in clear, easy-to-understand language. But also, if your state or municipality control how, when, and under what circumstances giveaways can occur, you'll also want to be sure your promotion is in compliance before running afoul of the law. Take some time to discover what excites your audience and empower them to develop content and be a part of your community. Putting the trust of your brand into the hands of your audience may seem a bit daunting, but if they love what you offer and what your brand represents, they can be a potentially louder voice than any marketing campaign you may employ.
Hi, it's Crystal King from HubSpot Academy. The world of social media has changed quite a bit in recent years. It used to be that if you published a message on a social channel, your audience would see it. But now, with so many users and so many posts, plus network algorithms that don't favor brands, It's more difficult than ever to use social media as a channel to just share content. Clicks are no longer easy to acquire.
Networking and engagement matters because anytime you have a conversation with someone, whether it's online or in person, there needs to be this give and take. Have you ever been on a first date where that other person just talked about themselves the entire time, didn't care about you, didn't want to talk about you at all? You never want to see that person again. It's the same thing with brands. If a brand is just talking at you and you try to talk back to them and they don't engage, they don't like, they don't comment, that's a problem. And it also means that those people are going to stop engaging with you. Those likes are going to stop, those comments are going to stop because they realize that you don't care and you don't see it.
This means that it's time to shift focus and start looking at social media as what it's best used for, building meaningful one-to-one relationships. It's quite simple, really. Listen to and engage with your customers and prospects directly. People want to talk to people, not brands. They want to engage directly with individuals, and the world of social media is the best place to do just that. The good news is that this type of engagement is often the most rewarding. Individuals who engage with you on social are likely to trust you more, have deeper loyalty, and be more likely to recommend your products and services to others. Let's hear from one of our industry experts.
The way we see at Popeyes customer service and fan engagement, it's pretty different, right? So customer service, we're always trying to answer any specific questions or any specific demands that the customers are putting on social media that they require an immediate answer and an immediate attention, right? So the way we handle those inquiries it's really different in the way that we handle fan engagement, right? So fan engagement, it's always more lighthearted, it's always more fun, and it's always more proactive from our side, right? While the customer service, it tends to be always more reactive to how guests are putting their requests or their needs or their experiences on social media.
Engaging directly with your audience is the heart of your social media strategy. It's the feel good, let me take care of you, let's work together strategy. Too many individuals and businesses are using social media as a push channel. What do I mean by that? It means that rather than developing engaging content and talking directly with your audience, content is pushed out, often automatically, to social media without a thought for the person who may be reading it, or, more importantly, without also engaging the audience directly, in addition to one's content strategy. B2B companies are especially guilty of this, but they don't have to be.
The number one thing that brands are doing wrong on social media is trying to push product. In contrast to traditional media, social media is more about developing relationships and trying to identify how you as a brand can add value to your customers.
Pushing out relevant content can be beneficial to you and to your audience. But if it's done in a vacuum, you'll be missing out on what makes social media truly special and successful. So let's talk about the benefits of talking more directly with your social followers and your prospects. First, you can build and grow your brand by having direct contact with your audience. It shows you care, that you are interested in them. It gives your brand a human element. And remember what I said before about how people want to interact with people, not brands? Second, you can improve your reputation, especially if you are engaging with unhappy individuals. Show that you are listening, show that you care, and that you actively want to improve their situation and make things right. Third, you can answer your questions that many of your prospects and customers might have. By responding to questions, other people with the same question may find the answer without having to reach out to customer service. Fourth, one-to-one engagement helps you provide additional value to your audience. You can give tips and tricks to individuals directly, you can give advice, or you can share fun facts that your audience might not be expecting. Fifth, you can amplify your reach. I know that sounds funny when we're talking about one-to-one engagement, right? But those direct interactions have a cascading effect, particularly when it comes to word of mouth. Excited and engaged customers may engage more often, share your material, and most importantly, tell others of their positive experience. This is especially true if you turn a negative to a positive for a customer. That brings us to the sixth benefit. You can increase customer loyalty. I just mentioned how powerful turning a negative experience into a positive was. And in fact, according to Statista, 47% of US consumers have a more favorable view of brands who respond to customer service questions or complaints on social media. The converse is true as well. Sprout Social found that about 50% of consumers stated they would boycott a brand due to a poor response on social. Additionally, 41% of consumers will share bad experiences with a brand with their network. So now the big question I'm sure you're asking is, how on earth do I get started? By diving in. Here are some things that you can do to foster more general social engagement. Respond to comments, even if it's just with a like or a smiley face, but be honest, transparent, and personal. Have a personality and be truthful in your dealings with customers and prospects. Be funny. Use humor thoughtfully. For an example, an upset customer may not appreciate a joke, but for the most part, humor makes brands seem more real, more in touch. JetBlue is known for their helpful customer service. In addition to providing help, their exchanges with their customers show their personality and their love for what they do. Offer additional value. Consider how you can surprise commenters with a coupon code or access to supplemental material. When someone is rewarded for their engagement, they are more likely to continue engaging. Ask for reviews. If you've helped someone, ask them to do you a favor and give you a review. When people are happy about the work you do, they sometimes just need to be told how to share that love. Ask for product commentary. If you're implementing a new site feature, see what the audience thinks before you move forward, or how you can tweak it after it goes live. Conduct polls. This is an easy way to show the audience you are listening and that you care about their opinions. The key here is to follow up and demonstrate the outcome, show the results, deliver on their opinion. For example, when I worked at Keurig several years ago, we asked people if they were interested in having the company make a green or blue coffee brewer. We let the audience decide and ultimately made the green brewer. Fans were delighted. Respond to comments in real time. This is a great tactic for any company, but especially for B2B companies with products that may be more complex. Invite special guests, conduct live demonstrations, host your own live shows on a specific topic. Have someone feed you the questions coming in from comments and address them in your live show. Tag guests so they can help extend your reach. If you have a guest blogger on your site or your podcast or videos, tag them in the content so they can help share it. Thank them for their participation. Reference the amazing content of others. If you are a team of one or just a few people, this is something really easy you can do to drive engagement and interest from other influencers, to build relationships and to extend your reach. Encourage readers to comment, like, and share. This is a simple ask, but it can be very powerful. According to Buffer, your tweets have a 12 times higher chance of being retweeted if you ask for it, and 23 times higher if you actually spell out the word retweet. Use this tactic sparingly so as to not seem too self-serving. Consider starting a Facebook or LinkedIn group. What a great way to really engage with your followers. You'll need to be able to dedicate the time to moderating and participating in these groups, but the power of doing so is so worth it. Online magazine The Cook's Cook was looking for a way to reach more individuals and started a Facebook group. Their main page, as of this recording, has 8,356 followers, but their Facebook group has over 89,000 members. Sounds like a great reason to consider a group, right? Facebook also gives brands the option of creating groups that require subscription, which gives the option of offering exclusive content for fans. Ask a question and respond to the answers. This seems so simple, but few companies take advantage of this easy way to drive engagement. And finally, use emojis. It's a fantastic way to put a personal face on your brand content. And it works. For example, social analytics firm Quintly found that the use of emojis can lead to 47.7% more interactions on Instagram. Check out this Valentine's Day example from Major League Baseball. Even just adding a few of these tactics into your everyday strategy will help make a big difference. You'll have better connections with your audience, greater reach, and improved brand awareness and loyalty. Social customer service, sometimes referred to as social care, is one of the newest and most effective modes of marketing. I can hear you wondering, customer service is marketing? In the social space, it definitely is. That's because the interactions are public, and how you do customer care in the social space says volumes about your brand. Marketer Jay Baer said it all when he said, when customer service becomes public, it becomes a spectator sport. If you are really good at your public customer service, then your social care can become a new form of marketing. Let's discuss the benefits. Social care helps you drive brand awareness, sell more products and services, humanize your brand, build loyalty, drive revenue growth. That last point is important. According to McKinsey, companies that develop social care capabilities improved year-over-year revenue per contact by 6.7% through effective upselling, cross-selling, and customer churn reduction versus a 12.1% decline for those without that capability. That financial gain can come in a variety of ways. It could be increased sales. It could be less returns as individuals self-service based on information from social media. Or it could be saving money. According to Insight, a social media interaction costs $1 compared to $6 for a call center interaction. Another reason why you should be considering customer care on your social channels is that your customers are expecting it. According to HubSpot's research, 90% of customers rate an immediate response as important or very important when they have a customer service question. 60% of customers define an immediate social response as 10 minutes or less. And HubSpot has found that 72% of Twitter complainants expect a response within an hour. So how do you start doing more social customer care? There are a few things you can do. First, you don't have to be everywhere, but you should be on the channels where your customers are. If they have a young audience, they are more likely to be using Snapchat, TikTok, or Twitter. Parents may be more inclined to use Facebook or Pinterest. Business customers are likely using LinkedIn. Find the channels where most of your customers are and start there. Then invest in a social monitoring tool. See what your customers are saying, and next, respond to comments. In an ideal world, you should make an effort to respond to most people, good and bad, who aren't spamming you. This may be difficult to do if you're a small team, so be thoughtful if you're picking only some to respond to. Those who you leave out may feel slighted. However, sometimes responding to everyone isn't always needed. Let's hear from one of our experts.
So in any social platform, you're going to have trolls. It's just the nature of the game. Most trolls really do want that attention, so we try not to give it to them. If someone's posting something that feels a little trolly, but it's just that they're misinformed, we'll take it as an opportunity to educate them. But if they're saying something that's just hateful or mean, we'll ignore them. And if it continues, then most likely we will block them, because we are very focused on creating a positive environment for our community. My favorite part is when our audience handles the trolls for us. We have a very active audience, and so if someone says something that maybe is not 100% nice, I love it when our audience goes in and basically corrects them. Ideally, it works better than if I was replying to them.
You should also have an SLA, or service level agreement. This is a commitment by the company to handle social media inquiries in a certain amount of time. This may differ by company. Some brands resolve to respond to customers within minutes, others within 2 hours. An SLA will help you set expectations with your customers and help your company measure results.
So an SLA is a service level agreement, and it's crucial because it sets a precedent for how the client and how the agency or how that marketer, whoever's working for them, is working. For social monitoring, it matters because it sets a guideline as to how quickly are we going to be reacting to this content. So are we at an hour SLA, which means I need to respond to those comments within an hour, 24 hours, a week, a day? It sets expectations. So there's a clear understanding between those two parties, how they're going to work together. And there's also an understanding of what that means for the brand. There are certain brands who don't need an hour SLA because the complaints or the positive comments that they're receiving, they aren't dire, they aren't crucial. If you're an airline and someone's mad because they canceled their flight and they're gonna miss their next flight, that's pretty dire. You're gonna want a very short window for your SLA. Now, if someone doesn't like their burger, and they just want to be able to get a refund, that can wait more and more time. That can be a few hours. That can take time. And it's also important to know what you need to respond to first. There's nothing wrong with having priorities, especially when it comes to escalating comments. If someone gets food poisoning from your food, from your restaurant, that's significantly more dire than someone who just had a rude waitress. Being able to know what needs to be acted on first is perfectly normal in an SLA.
Along with this, you should create community guidelines or house rules. Tell your community how you will interact and keep civility within your channels. When do you delete Facebook messages? Do you allow vulgarity on your Facebook wall? Do you block trolls on Twitter? Be upfront and clear. Consider creating a dedicated handle for customer service to help keep your customer care and marketing messages separate. For example, @HubSpot Support, @Comcast Cares, and @Apple Support are all dedicated to helping customers. Go beyond just responding and seek out engagement. Use a social listening tool and look for unhappy customers who are not posting to your channels and offer to help. This is a measure of goodwill that may be unexpected, and the rewards are enhanced loyalty and word of mouth. Look for positive interactions too, and consider thanking them or resharing their content. Be authentic and human in your responses. When you use overly official language, you lose the real personality that your audience in social media craves. But be true to the tone of your brand voice. If you're a government agency, you may have a need to be more straightforward than a company that is selling some hip new beverage to millennials. Also, don't be defensive in your responses. Take the high road and treat the customer as generally right, even if they're not. Your kindness and respect in the face of opposition will say volumes to others watching. Commit a human resource to response. Hire an agency if needed. If your company is serious about taking care of customers in social media and the traffic warrants it, dedicating a person on the team to responding to social questions within a specific time period is key. There are a number of agencies that help with moderation, including some that you see on this slide. Along with this, you may want to consider connecting your social customer care to an in-house customer care team or a call center customer care team. Many companies do what they can to triage situations in the social space, but then help to transfer a more complex problem to a specialized customer care group. To help you streamline your customer care activity, develop an FAQ, frequently asked questions, document to use when responding. This is especially important if you get the same questions over and over. But the trick here is that you can't cut and paste. Well, at least not exactly. You need to tailor each message just a bit to show that there's a real person behind the scenes. Include the name or handle of the person if you can. You can also create videos to demonstrate more complex problems or to help educate on certain topics. Consider if using a chatbot can help. Chatbots are automated programs designed to interact with humans conversationally on websites or messaging apps. Sometimes bots can be useful in answering basic questions or to point customers to a database of support knowledge. But be careful, as bots can sometimes seem impersonal, especially if a customer is frustrated and really wants to interact with a real person. That leads me to my next point. Determine when to take an issue offline. If someone is unhappy and you can't easily solve their frustration in a short response, ask them to direct message you their information so you can better help them. This removes their frustration from the public eye, and it also shows the public that you're interested in helping your customers. One good thing to keep in mind is that you shouldn't engage with a customer whose intent is to simply argue and publicly defame your brand. Sometimes your best defense is silence, and after a certain point, they'll damage their own credibility more than your brand's reputation.
There's going to be some people that will never like what you're doing on social. They have an agenda right there to basically feel that they have ownership of being negative to you, and you have to acknowledge that, but really spend the time that you can to focus on those who are supportive, that are engaging, and that really want the best for the community and for the brand involved.
Also, it's a good policy to not delete or hide comments or posts unless they go against your clearly stated guidelines. Doing so may make your company appear deceptive and dishonest. Finally, consider creating a crisis response plan to provide a framework for social response. Make sure to define your company's communication network to be used in an emergency or crisis, be it physical, such as a natural event, or online, such as a social media faux pas that paints your company in a bad light. Understanding how to interact with your audience in public social channels and behind the scenes can help you build loyalty and affinity with your customers, while at the same time attract new prospects. Let's talk about social selling. First off, what is it? Social selling is when salespeople use social media to interact directly with their prospects. There are a few different ways to engage in social selling, but if you really want to embody the inbound way of doing business, then your salespeople will provide value by answering prospects' questions and offering thoughtful content until the prospect is ready to buy. There are a lot of reasons to consider why social media is a perfect place for your sales team to engage. A few years ago, research firm Serious Decisions found that 67% of the buyer's journey is digital. What that essentially means is that individuals are no longer going into stores and browsing or picking up the phone to reach a sales rep to make a decision. Instead, they're looking at online reviews, reading forum commentary, watching videos made by the company and by customers, and asking the internet about your products and services. This happens long before they will reach out to the company. As a salesperson, your goal is to reach them in this research phase to help influence the purchase decision early on. Additionally, LinkedIn says that 78% of social sellers outsell in comparison to colleagues who don't use social media. Plus, IDG tells us that 84% of C-level and VP-level buyers are influenced by social media when purchasing. Sounds like a good reason for your sales team to become socially savvy, right? Here's how to get started. First off, consider your buyer persona. This helps you to be more targeted in your approach. If you are selling swimming pools, for example, you aren't going to care about people living in urban high-rises. You want to reach homeowners, potentially with kids, and with a certain financial demographic. Narrowing down who your buyer is helps you become very focused in your outreach strategy. Then, use social listening to identify your audience. It will help you determine which platform they are on, how they use the channel, and what topics that they are talking about.
Social monitoring certainly makes a difference when it comes to social selling, especially for salespeople who want to seem more informed about a buyer's needs or their industry. For example, by understanding articles or trends in that market, you could use that to send over to a prospect to appear more informed about what is important to them. Similarly, you can monitor forums on LinkedIn or organic conversations in which somebody may be asking their peers about which sales enablement platform may be best for them or how to implement it. That's your opportunity to then serendipitously reach out to them with your ideas on what sales enablement platform might work for them. And typically in those forums too, their information, their first and last name, the company that they work for is right there. So you can either, use other platforms to put those pieces together and find their email address, or even reach out to them right on LinkedIn.
Next, follow the right people. Don't be indiscriminate and follow everyone. Instead, follow individuals who will provide industry information that will benefit you or your customers and prospects, expand your network, for example, partners and suppliers, fit your buyer persona as a potential buyer of your product or service. Following the right people, particularly on Twitter, will also help you build your audience. Create a list of companies or individuals that you want to build a relationship with and follow them. Building your social audience might take some time. Focus on quality over quantity. Sure, it gives you social clout to have thousands of followers, but if none of them are going to buy your product, does it really matter? What you really want to do with your prospects is to build a relationship. Very few people like to be sold to. What you want to do is build rapport first. And you do that when you provide value, respond with information or ideas or casual commentary, give information away for free, provide advice. In other words, build trust. But be careful when you decide to add the sales pitch. Your pitch needs to be at the right time and presented in the right way. For example, a few years ago, I was overseas and very frustrated about my phone's data plan. T-Mobile knew that they needed to be in the right place at the right time. They knew what they offered was better than what I had at that moment. They offered exactly what I needed, unlimited data. They also reached out after watching the conversation and seeing that their competitor hadn't responded after several hours. They brought me specific value at the right time, and they personalized it by including the initials of the salesperson. When I DM'd them, there was no pressure, just information. But that exchange was enough for me to end a 25-year relationship with my carrier to switch to T-Mobile, who made me feel important and as if I belonged. But if I hadn't been looking to make a switch and they tweeted at me to switch, the same message would have come across as spammy and annoying. Timing is everything. You should also follow up. Social selling takes time, and small touch points matter. Think about the long game. This is especially good for product launches or the early stages of a product roadmap. Begin networking early and build the rapport in the months before the product is available. That's the perfect time to have casual conversation that isn't about your product, but builds trust and rapport. So when your time comes to sell, your audience is more receptive. Always strive to be authentic. Don't use canned messages. People can see your conversation history and see that you say the same things to everyone, and then you just become spammy. Contribute to groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. Again, it's about being a valuable member of the group. Provide value, not a sales pitch. Build trust and rapport by demonstrating your expertise as a thought leader. This is also a tactic that will take time. But in a group, you are bringing value to a wide net of people, which means that your potential return could be that much greater. One thing to think about is how you can try different types of content when interacting with customers and prospects. Short videos with a tip or trick can be easy to create, and they provide value while humanizing you beyond email. When I came on board at HubSpot Academy, Professor Addison Zhang put together a short 19-second welcome video for me, and I was floored. And I'll never forget her as a result, and now I'm delighted to collaborate with her on projects. Now that's powerful, right? A few final thoughts. Social media used to be a bit freer, but now people are becoming more concerned about their privacy. Additionally, spam is everywhere, and you don't want to be lumped in with more nefarious salespeople. So build a relationship first. Customize your messages and be authentic. Also, don't invade spaces that people may consider to be personal and private. Facebook, for example, is more heavily used for private activities between friends and family. And unless your audience has agreed to receive marketing messages from you, interactions may be seen as invasive. And last of all, be yourself. People want to interact with real people, not with brands. So there you have it. Good luck and happy social selling.
Every month, there are nearly 2.5 billion active users on Facebook, 1 billion on Instagram, and 330 million on Twitter worldwide. Whether it's to chat with friends, stay connected to people across the globe, or for business and networking purposes, consumers are on social media for a multitude of reasons. And marketers know it. Due to the sheer number of active users on these platforms, advertising spend invested in social media channels is at an all-time high. So how much are these advertisers spending on social media? Social media advertising across the world is projected to exceed $8.5 billion. Why are advertisers spending so much money on social media? In short, it's an effective, low-cost way to reach new audiences where they are already spending so much of their time online. Social media advertising allows you to reach specific target audiences, provides a variety of ad formats, and makes it possible to invest in efforts that drive leads and sales for your business. Let's dive into each of these advantages. First up, with social media advertising, you can reach specific target audiences. There are a ton of social media networks out there: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Pinterest, just to name a few. And across all of these platforms, you are bound to find an audience that is interested in your company's products or services. And the beauty of advertising is that you can be very specific about who you want to pay to reach. Unlike in organic social media, where you're reliant on your followers, social media advertising allows you to target people who haven't heard of you yet. Since you can target people outside of your network, social media advertising presents a great opportunity for tapping into new audiences. Not only can you reach new audiences, but social media advertising provides a variety of ad formats across platforms too. Every social media platform brings a unique value when it comes to the ad types that are available. There are ad types to support a variety of marketing goals, spanning brand awareness all the way down to sales. So what types of ad formats are available? Well, there are photo ads and video ads, shopping ads and lead ads, message ads, and many more. This means that no matter the industry that you're working in or the goals that you have for your advertising efforts, there is a platform out there and an ad type that will match what you're looking for. Plus, social media advertising can drive leads and sales for your business. Nobody likes investing dollars, especially in advertising, without getting some type of return. A huge benefit to social media advertising is the fact that you can prioritize efforts to match your business goals, like driving leads or sales. Each social media advertising platform comes with a robust ads manager where you can monitor how your ads are attributed to revenue for your business. Tying your efforts to your business metrics is also a great way to get buy-in from business leadership. They care about things like business competitive advantages or customer satisfaction. With data on your side, you can prove that social media advertising has real business impact. Whether you're working at a startup or a scale-up, are an intern at a large enterprise, or a sole owner of a new business, social media advertising can be a marketing strategy that solves for your business's bottom line. There are so many social media advertising platforms to choose from. We're going to explore some of the top social media advertising platforms today, including Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok. We'll cover best practices for advertising on each platform and explore the types of audiences that you can reach on each one. Facebook is the most widely used social media network. Almost 2.5 billion people from around the world use Facebook. That's more than 30% of the world's population. With so many people using Facebook, you're almost guaranteed to be able to reach an audience that's relevant to any type of business. That's where one of the most powerful features of advertising on Facebook comes in: audience targeting. The targeting capabilities on Facebook are really unmatched by any other social media network, making Facebook a great place to target based on interests. There are 3 types of audiences that you can target on Facebook: core audiences, custom audiences, and lookalike audiences. Facebook core audiences is an audience based on criteria like age, interest, and geography. Facebook custom audiences let you get back in touch with people who have already previously engaged with your business. And Facebook lookalike audiences allow you to reach new people whose interests are similar to those of your best customers. Facebook's advanced targeting can be used to target your ads to the most relevant audience, and even tap into new audiences you'd otherwise never reach with organic content alone. Advertising on Facebook includes a range of ad types, including photo ads, video ads, story ads, and lead ads. Using different types of Facebook ads comes with different benefits. Photo ads are great for sharing collections of images. Video ads are great for product explainer videos and for branding. Story ads allow you to use a combination of photo and short-form video content. If you want to learn more about the different ad types, check out the Facebook advertising course linked in the resources section. But personally, my favorite way to advertise on Facebook is through lead ads because they give you the best of both worlds, sharing visual content and generating leads for your business. Facebook lead ads capture lead information without directing people out of the Facebook platform. No matter your business's size or industry, you can use lead ads to find potential customers who are likely interested in your products or services. With lead ads, you provide a helpful piece of content that encourages viewers to sign up for a newsletter, receive a price estimate, or request additional business information. In return, when the viewer fills out the form, your business receives a new lead. Advertising on Facebook isn't only limited to Facebook. You can also advertise on Instagram as well through the Facebook Ads Manager. Instagram has over 1 billion monthly users globally. That's a little less than half of the number of users on Facebook. The majority of users are between the ages of 18 and 34. Wondering how to advertise on Instagram? Well, there are 3 ways. You can promote posts and stories directly from your Instagram professional account. You can create ads from your Facebook page and promote them both on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can create ad campaigns in the Facebook Ads Manager to access full targeting capabilities. I recommend taking the third option and creating custom campaigns for your audience on Instagram. This will allow you to create specific campaigns for your Instagram audience with unique imagery and language. After all, just because Instagram is owned by Facebook doesn't mean that audiences across both platforms want to see the same ads. What ad types can you use on Instagram? Well, Instagram has similar ad types to Facebook, including photo ads, video ads, and story ads. But by far, the most interesting ad types right now are in the Explore and Shopping Post ads. People using Instagram Explore are exploring their interests and discovering new content creators. Ads in Instagram Explore are a great opportunity to put your brand in front of a new audience. And Shopping Post ads allow you to include a tag that shows the product's name and price all within your image. Clicking on that tag takes your prospects directly to a product page where they can purchase the item, all without leaving the Instagram app. Another way to advertise on Facebook is through Facebook's Messenger. Facebook Messenger is a separate messaging app that comes with its own advertising opportunities. Facebook Messenger is the go-to messaging app in countries including the US, Canada, and Australia. Other messaging apps like WhatsApp and WeChat are more popular in countries throughout South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. But across the world, 20 billion messages are exchanged between people and businesses every month on Facebook Messenger. And ads play a big part of initiating those conversations. There are a few different ways that you can advertise on Facebook Messenger. With Facebook Messenger call to action in your ads, you can start conversation with ads on Facebook that include a call to action to send a message. There's also Facebook Messenger story ads that allow you to run a story ad right there in the Messenger app. You can also use Messenger ads to deliver content directly into Facebook Messenger chats. All of these ad types come together to encourage your audience to kick off conversations with your business. They can be used to get in contact with a sales team, request more information on a product, or even share other content like blog posts and ebooks. But my favorite way of advertising with Facebook Messenger is retargeting. Retargeting ads in Facebook Messenger are a great way to start targeted conversations and send personalized offers with content. Retargeting with Facebook Messenger includes sponsored messages, which allow you to advertise to people who have already interacted with your business in Messenger. This is a great way to re-engage your audience in a very personalized way. The LinkedIn platform has over 660 million monthly active members worldwide. LinkedIn is a great place for B2B or business-to-business advertising. LinkedIn is the go-to platform for working professionals, which provides B2B advertisers a large audience pool to reach. Plus, the advantage of advertising on LinkedIn is definitely its unique targeting capabilities. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to unique targeting criteria that isn't available on other platforms. You can target users on LinkedIn by unique demographics, including job title, job function, and industry. For example, maybe you only want to advertise to potential customers at the director level and up who work in customer service within the recruiting industry. LinkedIn's targeting capabilities make that possible. Plus, with the option to include lead gen forms in your LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn can be a lead generation machine. This will allow you to not only reach a very specific audience, but drive leads from the ads that you serve to them, all without directing them outside of the LinkedIn platform. In my opinion, the most interesting ad types on LinkedIn are message ads. Message ads allow you to send direct messages to your prospects to spark an immediate action. Why are LinkedIn message ads effective? They deliver a targeted message with a single CTA, drive stronger engagement and response than traditional email, and allow you to measure the impact of your messages. But a word of warning, don't send too many message ads to the same people or it will come off as spam. Remember, this channel is a one-to-one conversation. Direct messages are sacred spaces. And if you're going to advertise there, you need to be extra careful about taking the time to make sure that your message ads feel personal and relevant to your users. Make sure that you're delivering value to them in a way that feels authentic. Twitter is one of the less popular platforms for advertising. Digital advertising is less common on Twitter because organic reach is still a significant driver of a brand's performance on the platform. This is very unique to Twitter. But even so, ads can still deliver strong results depending on what your goals are. Twitter has over 330 million monthly users globally. That's half the size of LinkedIn. The majority of users are between the ages of 35 to 65 years old. Advertisers have discovered a few niches that have high engagement on Twitter: B2B and e-commerce. Many B2B companies are using Twitter as a digital marketing tool, and Twitter users are known to spend a lot of money online. This makes advertising specifically to these audiences a great strategy. So what are the goals of Twitter ads? Twitter breaks down their ads into 5 goals. Awareness, where you promote your tweets and maximize your reach. Tweet engagement, where you promote your tweets and get more retweets, likes, and replies. Follows, where you promote your account and grow your Twitter following. And website clicks and app downloads, where you promote your website or app and get more traffic and more downloads. All of these can work together to help you grow your audience on the platform and convert users into customers. Pinterest is a unique social media platform with 300 million users who are highly engaged and predominantly female. That's more users than Instagram, but less than Twitter. Some people say that Pinterest is the only platform where users actually want to see ads from brands they love because Pinterest is all about visuals. So what are the steps for advertising on Pinterest? First, you pick a pin. That's where you promote your best pins so that they appear in the most relevant places. Then decide who sees it. Set up targeting so that the right people see your ads. Pay for results. Choose to pay for engagement or visits to your site. And then track what's working. Once your campaign starts, see how it's doing and make changes along the way. Pinterest is great for businesses relying on photography to sell their products and to have a female target buyer persona. Rounding out the social media advertising platforms are 3 networks that are centered around video: YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok. YouTube is the second largest search engine, only second to Google, with over 2 billion monthly active users. Plus, young people watch more video content on YouTube than any television network out there. That makes YouTube a great platform for reaching a young target audience. Ads on YouTube appear before and during other YouTube videos, or as a standalone promoted video that's displayed after performing a search. Since you can target by demographic information and interests, you can serve videos to a specific relevant audience that's already watching videos from similar brands on related topics. Snapchat's 218 million users are predominantly made up of people between the ages of 18 and 24. Snapchat offers a few ad types, including story ads, sponsored tiles in Snapchat Discover, and augmented reality lenses. Snapchat's ad types feel pretty similar to the advertising options available on Instagram. What makes Snapchat really unique is its augmented reality lens. AR lenses are sponsored by a business to create interactive moments that users can use to share with their friends. It might be hard to believe, but in this example from Domino's, that pizza isn't really there. That's the AR lens at work. AR lenses are great for driving brand awareness since users share their photos or videos with their friends in their network. A new player to the social media advertising world is TikTok. TikTok is all about creating short, creative, and oftentimes funny videos. TikTok has exploded in the past few years and reached 500 million monthly users. That's more than double the size of Snapchat. Advertising options are still pretty limited and are mainly geared towards driving brand awareness. TikTok doesn't hyperlink posts to websites and only recently started allowing advertising. So businesses advertising on TikTok are focusing on boosting brand awareness rather than leads or traffic. Advertising on TikTok includes promoting videos that allow brands to build brand awareness with a younger target audience. Most of the posts that you'll see on TikTok are aimed at getting laughs. From a brand perspective, you'll want to create videos that are funny and feel at home with other content on the platform. Think of things like dance challenges and memes. This type of content is most effective. As you can see, there are a lot of opportunities to advertise to your target audience across many social media platforms. But one last piece of advice. Don't feel overwhelmed by the opportunities available to you. By understanding the social media platforms and identifying the audience that you want to reach, you can prioritize your efforts based on the platforms that you think hold the greatest opportunity. The content that you serve to your target audience is just as important as who you're targeting with your ads and the platforms that you're using to attract them. Crafting custom content for your ads takes time, but I promise you, your ads will perform better, meaning that you'll spend less money in the long run. Let's start off by exploring how to create effective social media ads. In previous years, you may have heard of a term called relevance score. Relevance score was Facebook's way of scoring your ads based on its expected performance. This score wasn't particularly helpful to advertisers because it wasn't clear which actions advertisers needed to take to achieve a higher score. So how does Facebook measure ad performance? Facebook uses 3 key metrics to rate the expected performance of your ad: quality, engagement, and conversion. Analyzing your ads under the lens of these 3 criteria will not only allow you to improve your performance of your ads on Facebook, but can also serve as great pillars to guide you towards creating effective social ads across all of the social media platforms that you're using. But what exactly do these terms mean? Well, quality is how good your ad is in comparison to ads from other advertisers competing for that same audience. Engagement is how much engagement your ad receives compared to others competing for the same audience. And conversion checks the conversion rate of your ads compared to others with the same campaign goal and the same type of advertisement. These 3 metrics tell the story of how your target audience experiences your ad compared to other ads that they're being shown. So how do you diagnose quality, engagement, and conversion? Well, if your ad isn't being served to your audience frequently, or it costs a lot to deliver, then it might be a bad ad. If your ad isn't driving the number of interactions you expected, your ad could probably be more engaging. And if you notice that people are clicking on your ad but aren't completing your ask, you can improve the post-click experience. But don't worry, you can create ads that perform well across all quality, engagement, and conversion metrics. Let's start off with quality. For high quality, create ads that resonate with your target audience. You can do this by using language that your target audience uses, using imagery and video content that is representative of your target audience, and offering value upfront and providing relevant content. You want your ads to speak to your target audience, and these best practices will help you achieve high quality. For high engagement, you want to create ads that stand out. Try experimenting with different types of ad content, like videos and GIFs, and making your call to action more visible and more direct. You want to stop social media users in their tracks and take the time to engage with your ad. And for high conversion, create ads that have a great post-click experience. Creating a landing page that's aligned to the messaging and style of your ad, and by limiting your lead generation forms to only the most essential fields, are methods that you can use to help increase conversion. Let's take a look at an example on social media that does a lot of things right. In this example, the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, or MIFA, is using a video ad to encourage their audience to see their student loan refinancing rate and begin their application. This is a great ad because it checks off a lot of the criteria Facebook is looking for: quality, engagement, and conversion. The quality is high because the language "don't let your loans pile up" speaks directly to their target audience. The ad engages users by sharing an animated video that takes up a large amount of real estate on the Facebook newsfeed. Plus, the landing page offers exactly what the ad says: find out your student loan refinancing rate. This ad offers a great experience, and it does well across quality, engagement, and conversion. By keeping these pillars in mind, you can create a variety of digital ads across all platforms that you can use to have high quality, drive engagement, and that users deem worth clicking.
Hi, I'm Crystal from HubSpot Academy. Measuring your return on investment from social media is not easy or straightforward, but can it be done? Absolutely. What is social media return on investment, or ROI? Simply put, social media ROI is the results you get from everything you do in social media, ranging from protecting your reputation, building brand awareness and loyalty, retaining and satisfying customers, and directly earning or saving revenue. Dennis Yu, the Chief Technology Officer of Blitz Metrics, explains.
Why would you spend money, spend effort on campaigns, and not measure things that the CFO cares about? The age of accountability is upon us. Social used to be the kind of thing where you had to be there, you had to be able to check a box, but now you know that doing something in social, if it generates lots of likes and tweets and so forth, has to somehow result in sales. You've got to track that word of mouth, that engagement, through down to the bottom line. That means it's going to go into Google and someone's going to search for it. It's going to go offline and you have to track that retail transaction. It'll go through the app, through email, back to social, back into a lead form, right? And those journeys, there's so many different journeys that go across people and across different channels. The measurement of that, as difficult as it is something that we have to focus on.
Even though social media has been around a while, ROI is still tough to measure. According to MDG Advertising, 44% of CMOs say that they haven't been able to measure the impact of social media on their business. While there's some intangibles to consider, for example, it's difficult to measure the goodwill or impact of word of mouth as a result of your efforts. But you can, and you should be putting systems into place to regularly track your return on investment. By doing so, you can understand the effectiveness of your efforts in social media and make adjustments to what isn't working. Prove the value of social media within your organization. Show how social media can impact all departments, ranging beyond marketing and sales to HR to engineering to PR. Understand and measure brand reputation and gain control of that conversation. Prove to executives the value of budgeting for your social media efforts. In this lesson, we'll cover all of those possibilities. You have an idea who your buyer is. You've figured out what channels to use, and you've started posting on your social media channels. But how do you know if what you're doing is working? Are you posting the right content? Is your audience responding? Is there a return on investment or ROI in your social campaigns? Or are you even investing in the right things? That's where social metrics come in. Let's start by learning how to take a look at all of your data as a whole and set up some benchmarks for future reporting. You'll want to conduct a social media audit, a hard look at the data from all your social accounts and the social conversations across the internet about your brand and your competitors. Conducting a social media audit will help you develop or adjust a social media strategy that aligns to specific, actionable business objectives and goals. Discover trends you can use to create or modify social media campaigns. Receive valuable insight into customer sentiment and perception of your brand. Provide executives and your team a look into what is or is not working so you can manage and justify social media spend. An audit gives you the opportunity to see the ebb and flow of your audience engagement, content performance, and what's working, what's not. It's a way for you to put your thumb on the pulse of everything you're doing in social. As part of your audit, you're going to be looking at a whole bunch of data. There are a variety of ways to record all this information, but many social managers find that developing a tab spreadsheet is the way to go. It will be helpful if you have a social analytics tool such as NetBase, Sysomos, Crimson Hexagon, or another type of metrics tool that can aggregate your data. But if not, you can manually pull the data and compile it from each channel's social media metrics. Some of these metrics are easy to acquire by going to the social networks themselves. Every major platform has analytics that you can use to understand your audience and the performance of your social posts. If you use the HubSpot social tools, you can use reports to analyze some of what is needed, namely your social website traffic and your content post data. You can also review social ad and YouTube data as well. If you're just starting out with social media, you might not need to conduct an audit yet, but understanding what goes into an audit will help you set up a framework that can help you capture much of this data on a weekly or monthly basis, which will save you time in the long run. Let's dig in. The metrics you need can be found in a variety of places, whether it's in Google Analytics, on the social network's main pages, or within the account in the analytics sections for each channel. A spreadsheet can help you keep track of all this information. Note that the metrics for each social media channel will be slightly different based on the available numbers you can measure, but there are a few commonalities you should look at. List your owned social channels. You'll want to start by listing your owned channels, those social channels that your company owns. The bigger your business, the more likely you are to have many channels. Who are the internal owners of those channels? Who in your company owns each channel? Who has the passwords? And who has been granted access? This will help you know if you need additional governance for your channels. For example, are there people who have access to Facebook that no longer should? How many followers do you have? Record how many followers you have on your official social channels. You'll want to keep track of this metric moving forward. Review non-owned channels for legal usage. Are there channels that are illegally using your assets and logos and potentially taking a share of your followers? Are there fan channels that co-opt your branding? Should you consider filing takedown notices for some of these channels or find better ways to interact with those accounts? If there are channels that are co-opting your logo, name, or other brand visuals, you can report them to the individual networks for removal. Do your profiles have consistency? Do all your social channels have a similar look and feel? Does your profile imagery, such as your covers, icons, and avatars, adhere to your company brand guidelines? Is your tone and voice consistent across the channels? Analyze your content performance. This is a big one, and you'll want to analyze each channel individually. Afterward, you can also use this data to determine if some of that content might resonate differently or better in other channels.
Social media analytics are so important. I love the saying, if you cannot measure, you cannot improve. So you really have to understand and pay close attention to our analytics. I look at my own analytics every single day because those are free focus groups, right? Our consumers are making an effort to tell us they love this piece of content, they don't resonate with that piece of content, and then listen to them. Use the numbers to strategize our social media content.
Some of the metrics you should track include best and worst performing posts, posts with the most engagement, things like comments and likes, post frequency, what types of content have the best and worst performance, the published time of posts that have the best engagement, video views, click-through to content, post reach and impressions, number of Twitter mentions, effective keywords, response rate, in other words, are you responding in a timely manner, sentiment. Note that some tools enable you to measure positive and negative sentiment. And don't forget about advertising. If you do a lot of social media advertising, you might want to conduct a separate, in-depth audit using the analytics and the ad tools found in the networks where you're advertising. You'll want to track similar metrics to the above for content performance, but also look at budgets, ROI, A and B test results, and areas for opportunity. Analyze your competition. Go to each of your competitors' social media channels and take a look at how they use their networks. How are your competitors using social media? How many followers do they have compared to you? How is their content performing? What types of content perform the best? How do they engage with their followers? By examining the competition, you can get a sense of how you stack up, but also where you might have gaps that you need to close. Seeing all of this information in one place is a powerful way to analyze the effectiveness of your content and tactics. You can identify weaknesses in your approach, determine what is working well so you can do more of the same, stop ineffective programs, or understand if you need more resources to do a better job. Even better, now you have the metrics you need to argue for those additional resources. Conducting an audit might take some time, but analyzing your social media will help you develop new benchmarks and KPIs, determine the best mix of content on the right channels at the right times, identify opportunities to better engage with customers, adjust budgets and calculate ROI, identify how you need to make resource changes to boost social media efforts. Be prepared to conduct an audit of this depth every 12 to 18 months at minimum, more often if you don't have strong metrics you regularly track. With the rapidly changing social media landscape, you'll want to always have an eye on how your efforts are making an impact. Now step back, take a look at this overall audit. Consider your buyer persona and your business goals. What are the metrics that your executives will care most about? Pull those details out and prepare a shorter, more condensed version that you can deliver on a weekly or monthly basis. There you have it, all the basics for measuring your social media, a step that could be a game changer for your business. We talk a lot about how your business goals need to align with your social media goals. There are a number of metrics you can measure to determine your return on investment, but having a system in place for how you're mapping social actions to those business goals will make it much easier.
Looking at data on our social media activities is extremely important, especially as we've been building this program over the last 8 or 9 months. We look at engagement, we look at the effectiveness of our posts, we look at activity, we look at the number of tweets, retweets, and sometimes we can get a little bit too involved in all of the data that's there, but I think the data is really key because it tells you the plan that you have, the strategy that you have, if it's working, and areas that it's not working, and how you can revise and rebuild so as you move forward, your program only becomes stronger.
Most marketers are measured by how their programs and campaigns perform in generating leads and revenue. While positive brand sentiment and a high level of customer service are important, your boss wants to know that the time you're spending on social media is actually translating into leads and customers. Essentially, revenue is the ultimate indicator of social media marketing success. But depending on your sales cycle, it can be months before you've closed new customers from a social media campaign. Because of this delay, it's important to use leading indicators of revenue success, such as the following. Signups for email, webinars, and events. At HubSpot, we even have people sign up for reminders about our live events. Product downloads and trials. Purchases. How many people buy your product or service as a result of an action in social media? Downloads of marketing materials. Visit to lead conversion rate. Of the social media traffic you're generating, what percentage of those visitors become leads? Sentiment analysis. How the internet feels about your brand can be an indicator of satisfaction, passion, and loyalty. Competitor benchmarking. Understanding how you stack up to your competition can help you pivot and make better business decisions. Website traffic. Reach and engagement. This includes likes, shares, and comments, audience size, and finally, campaign results.
In terms of specific metrics for social media ROI, revenue attribution is obviously the big one. Did people buy something? But beyond revenue attribution, another great measure for looking at brand engagement is sentiment analysis. How are consumers perceiving your brand? That will give you a good look at the long-term view of how your customers are feeling about you and drive some of your short-term strategies.
To take a deeper look at how social media could affect your business's key performance indicators, or KPIs for short, here are some examples. Lifetime value. How much revenue do you earn on average from a customer? Lifetime value multiplied by conversion rate. How much is each potential visit worth to you based on the percentage of visitors who convert? Average sale. How much is the average purchase from social media into your website? Pay-per-click ad valuation. How much would you end up paying if you were to use ads to achieve the same social media results? Resource savings. Were you able to have a customer take an action in social that will save the company money elsewhere? For example, watching a video or receiving a social media response rather than a lengthy call into customer support. Dennis Yu, the Chief Technology Officer of Blitz Metrics, tells us,
the most important thing to keep in mind when measuring social ROI is using the same metric that you use for all the other channels. So you've got goals, content, and targeting for your business. Maybe the goal is ROAS with a revenue counterbalance. Maybe it's number of leads versus a cost per lead. Maybe it's a particular product launch that you're trying to get in front of a certain audience at a certain recall rate. The same metrics that you use for any other channel should be the same metrics, shouldn't they be, for social? It's a question of how do you measure that.
Track your social media expenses so you can calculate ROI against your marketing campaigns. Here are some things to track: work hours, agency or freelance costs, social media software and services, content development expenses, advertising costs. Once you understand what your social media efforts cost, map those expenses to your social media campaigns to determine your return on investment. The ROI of a social media action is calculated by dividing the net income by the cost of this action and multiplying it by 100. For example, let's say a business invested $2,200 on a social media campaign to promote a new product on Facebook or Twitter. Once they completed the campaign, they found they made $9,500 in profit. The calculation for ROI would look like this. 9,500 divided by 2,200 times 100 equals 432% ROI. How awesome is a number like that? While we might not all be able to achieve this sort of success, you'll never know unless you are tracking your efforts. It's also possible you'll find out that your ROI is negative. If so, you'll want to adjust your campaigns or make changes to your future campaigns based on your learnings. And finally, make sure you report your findings back to your team and to your executives. When it comes to measuring return on investment, the benefits are endless. Brands can find new fans, customers, and leads, adjust campaigns to be more effective, and shift spend towards programs that will be more beneficial to the business. Social media metrics should have an impact beyond adjusting your social media strategy, efforts, and budget. These metrics also have the ability to make a significant impact in other areas of your business. Let's walk through some of the possibilities. Social media data and metrics can affect your product development and roadmap. Are your customers happy with your products? Are they talking about features they wished existed? Listen to your customers to discover pain points and new possibilities. Your marketing campaigns. Your social media metrics can also affect marketing campaigns that aren't taking place in the social space. Tie print campaigns or outdoor advertising to a hashtag or to a website to further measure their effectiveness. Your sales efforts. If your sales team is using social selling to reach prospects, having them tie their social outreach efforts to a hashtag can help track interactions and success. Your recruiting efforts. Understanding which influencers are driving traffic to job applications is powerful and can help you incentivize or forge better relationships with those individuals. You can also track how many applicants come from social channels. Your public relations. PR teams are also interested in tracking influencers. Social media data can help them determine the success of online PR campaigns and tracking the reach from news that results from those efforts. Your customer service and loyalty programs. Tracking conversions from unhappy to happy customers is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how social media can affect customer care programs. Savvy companies often develop campaigns for their most loyal customers. These campaigns contain a mechanism for their fans to share their experience in social media. Tracking the success of those types of campaigns against other types of campaigns can lead to valuable insights regarding the power of word of mouth and the value of super loyal customers. Your employee advocacy. Brand messages reach 561% further when shared by employees versus the same messages shared via official brand social channels. Create trackable URLs and use specific hashtags for your employees to use. This will enable you to track engagement. If it's low, look for ways to infuse more energy into your employee campaigns. There is so much data and insight that can be gleaned from your social media networks. By connecting these metrics to business impact, you can fuel many of your most crucial business decisions with valuable and actionable data. In the world of social media, things can change in the blink of an eye. Platforms lose and gain popularity. Algorithms shift and cause marketers to rethink their approaches to their social media marketing strategy. The one thing you can be sure of is this: social media is always changing. These changes can result in both challenges or opportunities for your business. We have to be adaptive and responsive to the changes that each platform makes. Figuring out who to engage with, where to post, and what to post is important. But there are a few areas that are crucial to helping your business protect and promote itself that you should be aware of. Let's go over them. Governance, risk, and ethics. With every advancement and change platforms make, the law follows. Understanding both the risks associated with posting on social media and what is aligned with the legal and ethical principles of the profession are two important and sometimes overlooked areas.
In social media, there's a lot of ethical and legal considerations to definitely take a note of. This is a field that is constantly changing, and more issues on the legal side and ethical side always come into play. I believe the issue of copyright is really important. What you share on social, you need to be aware if you are sharing it appropriately, giving credit, or if you're not, you might be, of course, breaking the law. And from an ethical standpoint, really the impact of cyberbullying, which has been viewed as an epidemic worldwide, it is something that we as professionals need to be aware of. What we say and do on social have, ramifications for other people on social.
Employee guidelines and social media policies. If your employees are using social media, how do they talk about the brand? Or potentially equally important, what are they not allowed to say? While each company's leadership can have different views of social media, you should have a plan in place for how social media should be used by employees. A crisis communication plan. Social media professionals need to be prepared for moments when something might go wrong. Having a plan in place on what to do before, during, and after a crisis in social media is critical to a brand's reputation. An employee advocacy plan. You may have employees who are active on social media who are influential and can advocate on behalf of the company with the communities they represent on social media. An advocacy plan that ties to your employee guidelines can be a boon for your organization. Understanding how to prepare your business to handle crisis and risk is important, as is finding a way to leverage your greatest promotional resource, your employees. The concept may seem different, but they are intimately tied together. In this lesson, we'll show you how. So let's get started. Social media is not just about selfies and viral videos. It's a powerful channel to disseminate information in real time that can amplify your brand's presence in the minds of your audiences. It's also a medium that can have significant repercussions on your brand's bottom line in a moment of crisis. Let me explain what I mean about significant. In 2018, Italian fashion brand Dolce & Gabbana released a racially insensitive and misogynistic ad showing a Chinese woman trying to eat Italian food with chopsticks. There was immediate media backlash, but worst of all was the social media hashtags such as Dolce & Gabbana racist and boycott Dolce & Gabbana. This social media failure hit them where it hurt the most, their profits. The brand had to cancel a major Shanghai fashion show. They issued an apology, but the damage was done. Retailers stopped stocking their goods and celebrity influencers stopped wearing their clothing. With 58 stores in China, this backlash was detrimental to the bottom line, and 2 years later, the brand is still struggling to regain its reputation. And sadly, it also affected the actress who starred in the ad, who says it ruined her career.
When things blow up on Twitter or Facebook, as they do and as they will, the most important thing is to not respond as quickly as possible, but to stop and take stock of what's happening and to really quickly come up with a strategy that matches the situation. That is the thing that will keep you in control, that will help inform what your engagement strategy is. And sometimes an engagement strategy may not be to engage. Sometimes you need to know what the right thing to say is. You need to make sure that your team is aligned and that you're aligned also with other departments in the company so that you can speak with a unified voice, so that you can respond appropriately, and so that you cannot fuel what may be a fire that could grow even larger.
What is said on social media never really goes away, even if you delete it. This leaves a company open to all sorts of possible risk. The biggest risk that a company faces is the sharing of confidential information. This could be the intentional sharing of strategic product or financial information by an employee going rogue, or the result of risk of being targeted in a cyber attack. If this happens, businesses risk losing company secrets, company data, customer data, roadmaps, and product plans, resulting in hits to brand reputation, potential regulatory infractions, and media repercussions. Sometimes the most damage to an organization can originate from the inside. Employees who use social media could do something detrimental, whether it is intentional or unintentional. There have been many cases in which a brand has had to respond to an issue based on what one of their employees have said or done on social media. For example, in 2013, the Houston Rockets fired their social media manager for tweeting an inappropriate message to the Dallas Mavericks during one of their games. The social media manager tweeted a gun and horse emoji. The horse emoji represents the Mavericks mascot. And the tweet said, "Shh, just close your eyes. It will all be over soon." This went viral and sparked outrage on social media. The social media manager should have been paying attention to the cultural sensitivities and preferences of the company's audience. This shows that a simple message, tweet, or comment could result in getting fired. You've heard the saying that bad news travels fast, right? That's especially true in social media. There's been a lot of conversation on social media related to the Me Too movement, which chronicled sexual harassment and treatment of women in Hollywood. A number of entities were impacted, including movie studios and even established television stations like CBS and NBC. The media kept amplifying the conversation in the public consciousness, which sparked a movement that shifted the conversation in power from some of the traditional gatekeepers to the audience members. Within a year, the Me Too movement had become a global initiative, with companies around the world reeling from its impact. Why is this important? It's an example of how every person with the touch of a button and connection to Wi-Fi can be a media outlet. This is both an opportunity and a risk that brands need to be aware of and prepared for. You cannot control the conversation, but you can be a participant in the community and you can help shape the message that the community hears.
When it comes to the range of types of crises that companies face on social media, there's a wide range. I would say some of the ones that can be prevented would be those that happen internally within employees. And so that's why having a strong social media policy is really important. But those policies need to be updated on a regular basis. As new platforms come about, employees may jump on them, like TikTok, where Panera had a couple of employees that posted TikTok on what they were doing behind the scenes in the cafeterias and the kitchens. And so those kind of situations need to be addressed, and they need to be proactive in handling those situations.
You can handle challenges by having a social media policy in place to manage and prepare for a range of situations. Having a sustainable and adaptive crisis plan to explore, mitigate, and prepare for emerging crisis scenarios can help your team make sure they have guidelines to follow. What is a social media policy? A social media policy outlines how an organization and its employees should conduct themselves on social media. This document helps you to safeguard your brand's reputation while also encouraging employees to responsibly share the company's message. These guidelines are ever-changing as social changes and the company changes. Why have one? There are many benefits to having a social media policy. A social media policy helps protect the reputation of the brand by providing guidelines and best practices for employees. A policy can range from a concise list of best practices for professional conduct to thorough and legal implications of social media actions. A social media policy can serve as a contract between employees and the organization on what ethical practices and procedures need to be followed online. Small companies may have less policy, but the bigger and bigger that you get, the more you need to be conscious about the risk your company faces when your employees use social media. Do you have a company code of ethics? A code of ethics is a good thing to have in general, but if your employees are using social media, it's essential. A code of ethics gives your company guidelines to help shape the overall behavior and actions of employees interacting online.
One of the most important steps a company needs to take first and foremost before they even go on social media is to develop a social media policy. These are set guidelines in which you articulate the expectations that you have for your employees and how they conduct themselves on social. There's a lot of great brands that have some strong social media policies like General Motors and other brands, and they just set some guidelines saying these are the kind of things that we're looking for employees to do. Some are very detailed in terms of their expectations, what they can and cannot share, but then others are focusing more about how to acknowledge that they are an employee and letting their community know that they do represent the company. So these set guidelines are very essential to having a strong culture internally of social media policies, and those that have been successful have really been able to develop a strong presence on social media due to having one of these policies in place.
When you're developing a social media policy, ask yourself the following questions to gauge employee awareness of social media issues. Are employees aware of the fact that while their profiles may be set to private, they are really not private? Do employees know the risks associated with what they post online and how it might be perceived by others? Are employees aware of which third-party apps are collecting information about them? What are some of the biggest challenges employees feel they have to be aware of when it comes to social media? Do employees understand that posts and updates serve as a first impression to not only how they are perceived online, but how the brand is perceived as well? Social media policies safeguard organizations against legal trouble and security risks. There are several risks and legal issues that need to be defined for employees when it comes to social media. Work with legal to develop training sessions for employees on the legal implications of terms of service agreements, disclosure of information such as copyrighted content or sharing of trade secrets, privacy, bullying, and cyber attacks, risk of false rumors and information. Social media policies also empower employees to do the right thing by the company. By understanding what should and should not happen, employees can feel empowered to take appropriate action, making sure they are addressing each situation in a professional and ethical manner. Having guidelines for employees also helps establish a consistent and sustainable brand voice for employees to consider in their social media use. Just make sure that you leave room for employees to feel empowered and excited to share content related to the brand. Give them the freedom to add their own personal twist and brand voice to their content. No one wants to listen to a robot. People want authentic exchanges with employees versus a mouthpiece for the organization in a way that seems forced. This is where leadership can really lead by example. If employees feel like the overall culture of the organization supports what they can do in social media, then it's a win-win situation. Ready to get started? Include these key components in your social media policy. Who are your company spokespeople? Deciding who will be the spokespeople for your company is going to provide consistency and trust among your audiences. Is this just the CEO or PR spokesperson? Or can employees be part of the conversation? How will you address customer complaints? This is sometimes dedicated to the HR, customer service, or social care team, but employees need to be comfortable in how they can help address this, or even point the customer to the right direction online. How will you handle PR inquiries? What happens if a media reporter or PR professional reaches out to you? These need to be addressed in your policy as well. What are the guidelines for stock and investor relations? This has to be here, especially if you're working with a publicly traded company. How will you address copyright infringement? Understanding what is someone else's work, like photos, videos, music, and other creative works, is crucial. This can cause many challenges, ranging from hefty fees to platform suspensions. For example, using photos from Google Images without getting permission to use them could result in a $100,000 fee. Do your employees understand the social media do's and don'ts? Share expectations and procedures on what will happen if things are shared online that go against the set policies and procedures for your brand. Do you have a clear direction on how to respond in conflict situations? Are your employees prepared with the appropriate instructions or messaging for their conduct on behalf of the organization on personal accounts? You never know who may reach out, and employees may need to be prepared to address these situations professionally. These outline best practices respecting brand, copyright, and tone of voice need to be listed here. Have you outlined what information employees can or cannot share? For example, business-related information. The social media policy needs to prohibit posts that put your business or staff at risk and explain how or why certain information creates a risk. Have you outlined steps employees should take to protect themselves as far as privacy goes? Whether it is signing into a third-party application through Facebook or disclosing your location on Instagram, these steps need to be discussed in order to keep employees from the company to be compromised by others and insecure computing. Have you set forth compliance expectations and rules? This should also include who employees should talk to if they have questions. Once you've developed your social media policy, there are certain steps you need to take for it to be successful. First, educate employees on the importance of having a social media policy for all team members within the organization. You need to discuss the key focus areas that are covered, your expectations, and best practices. Second, reward the employees who are shining stars and are doing things right in social media. Showcase what they are doing that is working and the key takeaways that may be helpful for others to learn from. Have these meetings and discussions frequently because there are always changes and new cases to share with employees. They need to understand both the opportunities that could arise for being present on social media, but also the consequences and emerging challenges. Here are some examples of social media policies from brands and media outlets around the world. Starbucks, General Motors. Having a social media policy helps you shape the culture, practices, and awareness of social media activities from a legal and ethical standpoint. In addition, social media education could come in many forms, like in-person meetings, trainings, workshops, retreats, conferences, and brown bag sessions dedicated to the topic. The key element to keep in mind here is to make sure these are available and incorporated into all roles and departments. In this video, you'll learn about the world of crisis communications and how social media plays a significant role in this specialized area of communications and marketing. What is a crisis? Crises have been defined as events that either cause harm or the potential for harm to an individual or organization. Whether the harm produces physical, emotional, or environmental damage to individuals and communities involved in the crisis, or damage to the corporate reputation or financial standing of an organization, the range of harm is different in each unique situation. A crisis encompasses not only the actual event, but also the process or time leading from the event, including subsequent perceptions of the crisis by various stakeholders. While most research has been dedicated to focus on traditional crises, social media crises are quite different due to where they start. Texas A&M professor Tim Coombs, who is one of the leading researchers and scholars in crisis communications, says social media crises are somewhat like zombies in nature compared to traditional crises. What Coombs means by this is that a social media crisis is an incident or triggering event that happens on social media on a particular platform, rapidly spreads from person to person, spreads virally to become a traditional news story. New types of social media crises rise every day, and brands need to be prepared for that. Here are some examples of social media crises that you might come across. Cyber attacks or the hacking of social media accounts. This happens when an account is compromised and is sharing either inappropriate or spam content that is not reflective of the brand voice and mission. Advocates calling for boycotts on advertisers. When audience members are not happy with how the organization is practicing, they may use social media to voice their outrage and cause others to follow them. Live video. Video is unpredictable and can show a situation happening in real time, causing chaos and emotion to spark. Fake news and rumors. Information that is not true can circulate online, which will distract from the real information about the crisis being shared. Employees going rogue. Sometimes employees go off the script and go against social media policy behavior. This happens when employees perhaps do not agree with the actions by their employer or feel no one will catch them. These have to be addressed and handled in a timely and appropriate manner. Trend jacking during a sensitive situation. Trend jacking happens when you take advantage of a situation that is trending in order to get your commercial message out. Widespread public outrage to a post. People view social media platforms as first impressions, and if they see something they do not like, they will voice these concerns openly and loudly online. So what do you do if you're experiencing a social media crisis? Don't panic. When a problem rises on social media, there is one big thing you need to ask yourself. Is this a real crisis or not? As Melissa Agnes discusses in her book, Crisis Ready, there are differences between what an issue is and what a crisis is. If it's a crisis, you need to own it and take responsibility for your actions. But wait, let's back up a bit to the time before a crisis. When a crisis emerges, you don't want to be responding on the fly. Preparation is key to be proactive as possible when a crisis hits. There are 3 different stages to a crisis: preparation or pre-crisis, response, the crisis, and recovery, post-crisis. Preparation comes in many forms, like investing in a proactive monitoring system, training all of your team members in crisis communication, setting social media guidelines and protocols, creating a message map for responses and statements for each situation, building a healthy and interactive relationship with key parties. In the response stage, a social media manager and their team has to react quickly, compassionately, with authoritative and clear words and actions. Understand the emotions being shared on social media. Pay attention to feedback, comments, sentiment, and false information that could be spreading. Integrate social media messages to the appropriate medium and audience. Monitor and integrate comments into crisis plan strategy. Provide statements to audiences to take certain actions, embracing self-efficacy. Once the crisis has been resolved and addressed, the recovery or post-crisis stage begins. Evaluate the overall sentiment of the messages. Determine the overall response in the media and with key audiences. Analyze the data to see what lessons to take away. Evaluate team members and response strategies from crisis. Determine best practices and the lessons learned. What exactly is involved in a crisis plan? There are many different types of crisis plans, but generally it should be developed using a mixture of executive team members, and it should explore various scenarios, risks, and take into account stakeholder reactions. Here are some must-have components for your crisis plan. A team of executive personnel from legal, investor relations, management, and communications groups. These individuals will enforce decisions, coordinate employees, pacify stakeholders and stockholders, and craft communication messages. Brainstorm all of the potential issues and risk scenarios. Start by making a list of everything you can think of that could be a crisis or a problem. This could be events like gun terror, a lying executive, a fire, white-collar crime, delivery problems with your product, internet trolls gone wild, data breaches, sexual harassment, website issues, you name it. Create prepared statements. Develop materials for your spokespeople to use, your social media team, and also to explain to employees the depth of the crisis. Outline key risks and their level of severity and responsibility. Assign a risk level based on how much it will affect your company's bottom line. Then determine exactly at what point you will push the issue up the risk ladder. Determine which stakeholder will be notified at what risk level. Managers, executives, partners, clients, vendors, local and federal authorities, and the press. Create a list of internal contacts in the departments that should get involved. Include their titles, email address, phone number, and alternative contact number. Alert the stakeholders using the risk levels you preset.
If you pursue developing a crisis management plan for your company, you want to have some key individuals who are part of that conversation. One, of course, is the marketing, public relations, and communications professional, so they can add their expertise in the marketing and communication channels, as well as the message development. You also want to have legal involved to make sure that the statements that you prepare are legal and that you will not get sued as a company if you say something wrong. You also want to make sure that you have the senior management there so they understand the financial implications, the reputation issues that could come out with a crisis, but also training them if they become a spokesperson for the company or brand in a light of a crisis. You also want to have, depending on the type of industry you are in, a subject matter expert. So if you're in healthcare, you would want to have a healthcare expert on board in handling any questions that are focused on a specific area. But you really want to have a diverse group of individuals that will help you present different perspectives and offer their expertise to formulate a strong communication plan in handling a crisis.
You'll also need a social monitoring program that will help you see all of the incoming social conversation so that you have a sense of the urgency of the crisis or problem. It is a proactive move to see what mentions, keywords, and conversations are emerging about a brand in crisis. It is not only important to explore what is being said, but who is driving the conversations. These conversations could tell us a lot about potential early warning signs, level of sentiment for the brand in crisis, who the influencers driving the conversation are, for example, advocates, customers, media, or trolls, and any issues that need to be addressed in a timely manner. Whatever you do, don't stop responding to your customers. Not being present on social media could result in a bigger situation to address, which could impact the company more in the future. If there is a situation that needs an apology, do it, and do it fast, within 60 minutes. Be as sincere and as transparent as possible. The longer you wait, the more the situation can spiral out of control. Let's look at a few different scenarios. Southwest Airlines is known for its dedication to timely customer service. In April 2018, there was an engine explosion incident with one of their planes. In this crisis, the team responded promptly and discussed the ways in which they would address future situations. They were empathetic and clear in their conversations with customers.
Southwest Airlines is one of my favorite companies, and a while ago there was a passenger, a small boy, that lost their favorite bear. And so, of course, everyone went on social media, and of course the parents were like, really, kind of sad about this traumatic experience for their child. And so what Southwest actually did is they said, look, we're going to actually replace the bear. We were able to kind of make a positive from a negative. And so when a customer raises concerns and they broadcast this on social media about a company, it really is important for the company itself to take notice of, okay, how should we act? How can we do things to make things right? And the fact that Southwest Airlines was able to do this swiftly, but then also do it and share it on social for the community so they're informed, really was an effective strategy for them.
Facebook and Uber are two examples of companies that didn't manage crisis well. In 2017, Uber was faced with accusations that the ride-hailing service intended to profit via surge pricing from a protest against President Trump's executive order banning refugees and immigrants from certain countries from entering the United States. Customers of Uber were outraged by the actions of the CEO and voiced their frustration publicly, which resulted in a worldwide viral movement called #DeleteUber, in which users deleted the Uber app and instead began using Uber's rival Lyft. Then, in 2018, Cambridge Analytica, an elections consulting agency, was outed by a whistleblower for hijacking data from over 87 million Facebook users without their knowledge and exposing Facebook's inadequate ability to protect its user data and provide privacy to its customers. As a result, Facebook had their own #DeleteFacebook crisis. In both the Uber and Facebook situations, the media and customers felt that the companies took too long to respond and that their statements lacked empathy and humanness, further demonstrating what seemed to be a lack of care for their customers. Uber's CEO eventually left the company, and Mark Zuckerberg had to testify to the United States Congress. Both brands had different results to their crisis, but neither had a sound listening and monitoring protocol to guide them in how they needed to respond. It's important to be empathetic to the current landscape and the emotional state of your audiences. A crisis is not the time to promote posts or newsjack a hashtag. In addition, researching why certain trends are trending is crucial, because not understanding the context could result in getting yourself into a bigger crisis. In this day and age where everyone wants to be relevant and trending in social media, This could actually result in creating a crisis for yourself. For example, DiGiorno's waded into a serious conversation about the survivors of domestic violence by not looking at the origins of the hashtag #WhyIStayed, posting that people stayed because of the pizza, which of course did not go over well. The brand apologized for this incident and recognized it was key to first research a trending hashtag before jumping into the conversation. With that being said, here are some tips for handling social media during a crisis. Make sure to pause scheduled social media posts, pause paid ads on social media channels, pause marketing emails, assess the planned blogging and campaign schedule for appropriateness, create a blog post addressing the situation as needed, provide talking points for executives as needed, check all content for relevant references that could be perceived as offensive or rude in light of the event, cancel any planned product updates or changes, create a plan for employee communications as needed, communicate issues with customer support via social media. Consider creating a flowchart of action. Make sure you disseminate your plan to internal stakeholders. Here are some best practices to keep in mind for effective crisis communications. For the most part, social media crises can be prevented. Educational training is key. Conduct crisis simulations to make sure all parties are aware of what they need to do if something happens. If a mistake happens, own it and take responsibility. Make sure you address this proactively and in a timely manner. Never say no comment. There are always ways to address a question from the media and others if you do not have information at a given time. For example, stating, "At this time, we are still in the midst of an investigation and do not have all of the facts. However, we will be providing an update on Tuesday to provide more details for you all." Do not engage in a flame war. Trolls or those who are not your fans may want to start a heated conversation with you to create an emotional spark. While it is tempting to reply, it is better not to engage in conversation that could escalate into a bigger situation. Don't blame the intern. Many times there is a perception that if something goes wrong, it's because of the intern. That's not always the case, and it is important that you do not allow this narrative to spread throughout the online community. Understand the role of the spokesperson and key players involved. First impressions matter. How you present yourself is just as important as what you say. Make sure the statements you share on social media reflect on those points. Use your best influencers and advocates. These individuals are not just for promoting new products and services, but they could be your best allies in a crisis. In summary, preparation is the name of the game. Like the changes we see in social media, we have to be prepared for the incidents that could negatively impact our brand culture, reputation, or community. Listening and monitoring for these potential crises could help in being a proactive and effective social media professional. Did you know that content shared by employees receives 8 times more engagement than content shared by brand channels? If you have a strong culture, employees can be your best advocates and your best asset for sharing your story and being an authority about the brand for external audiences. So how do you take advantage of this best asset? By establishing and fostering a strong and sustainable employee advocacy program. What is an employee advocacy program? Employee advocacy programs are powerful sources of word-of-mouth marketing. They help amplify the organization's social media presence. We have seen many brands over the years who have empowered their employees to be advocates on behalf of the brand in various campaigns. For example, Dell and Humana, 2 different companies in separate industries, have implemented employee advocacy programs to help cultivate a strong internal community to tell their brand story to external audiences. Why is employee advocacy important? According to the Edelman Trust Barometer, employees embody company culture and values, and therefore are 3 times more trusted than CEOs. In other words, employee engagement, or the lack of it, affects your brand perception and consumers' trust towards your company.
So an employee advocacy program is important because people trust recommendations and insights from real people. So while marketing and PR and advertising is still important, people are inundated with that stuff all the time, and they're easily tuning these things out. But when they see things coming from their colleagues, their family, or their friends, they're more likely to look at it and engage and take that recommendation seriously. Another reason that it's important is that you're engaging your employees with the brand more. So employees are able to see and understand which content you're writing, and they're feeling more connected to each other, thus building kind of an internal community.
Employees embody trust and authenticity in a way that a paid spokesperson cannot do for a brand. Need further proof that employee advocacy programs are the real deal? Employee advocacy programs have been around for years, and there have been some successful case studies that show how employee advocacy programs are a great investment for brands to consider. There are certain benefits for creating a brand advocacy program for employees. First, brand advocacy helps businesses drive active employee participation and leveraging their knowledge to generate and distribute content. In addition, employee-generated content also represents an incredibly effective way to reinforce company culture and values, showing how these concepts practically translate into real behaviors and campaigns promoted by the people who run the company.
So employee advocacy program is not just used for social recruiting. It's actually used for multiple areas of a business, including marketing, to extend your brand reach, to drive more web traffic, increase leads, and increase lead quality. It's also used for sales. So sales teams will use it for sales enablement and social selling, which will drive more win rates and increase the pipeline. With social recruiting employer branding, it's also used because you can extend your reach to more people who might be interested in open job requisitions at your company. Lastly, it's used for internal communications or employee communications, which not only is employee advocacy for sharing externally, internally it helps because now your employees are connected, they're seeing information, and they're more engaged with each other as they're able to comment and connect with other colleagues at different locations.
What is necessary for an effective employee advocacy program to flourish? There are several factors that need to be considered here. First, executive buy-in and support is necessary. Employees who encourage engagement will rally the troops to help make a difference. Second, you want to create a starter team. This will encompass at least 6 to 10 employees from different parts of the organization who can get the ball rolling. Individuals who are already social rock stars and not afraid to use their platform for company good. You also want to have a diverse representation of areas within the brand to help tell a comprehensive story online. Third, once you have your team in place, educate and provide guidelines to your employees. What should and should not be shared, overall tone to have online, resources and templates in case they are not sure what to share at first, and additional trainings on specific areas of specializations. For example, conflict management, customer service, or PR. Fourth, you want to make sure to give employees the tools to create and distribute content easily. This can be in form of design tools, for example, Adobe Spark or Canva, or even a customer management tool. Dynamic Signal is a company that creates dashboards for brands for their employees, so everything they are able to share and create on social media is in one spot. This allows the employee to click to tweet, share, and post in various platforms they are on. As a brand, this is where it is key to have consistency in the message, tone, and overall timing of the information here as well. These points need to be emphasized and discussed among the employee advocacy team members. In addition, you not only want to encourage dialogue and engagement, but also acknowledge and praise the employees who are seeing the results of their actions. Consider developing a leaderboard for top-performing employees on social media, which taps into the gamification strategy to motivate employees to set goals for themselves with their social media activities. Next, once you have gotten the initial group in place, you'll want to expand upon this to include more employees. The more employees you can get, the more stories and reach you can achieve across various communities and across networks. Employees need to know what incentives will be offered for participating in social media for a brand. Is it going to be internal praise, or are there other opportunities? Competitions, leaderboards, free swag, and prizes are a few items to consider. In all programs, you want to showcase and give praise when it is earned. Give praise and celebrate successes, whether it is for specific achievements for employees in social media or the brand receiving recognition for their employee advocacy work in the press and industry. You also want to consider how you're going to be measuring the success and ROI of employee advocacy. Will it be conversions to sales? Will it be mentions and hits in the press about the program? Or will it be signups and sustainability efforts for employees? How many clicks does a specific employee's share of a URL get? Deciding what objectives and measures need to be in place here will be key.
So how do you measure an employee advocacy program? If you use a platform, there's built-in analytics that can help you measure and make sure that you're on top of your KPIs and goals. But it also depends on what you want to measure, pending your use case and what kind of departments you're using. But there's external analytics and internal analytics. External analytics would be things like how often your employees are sharing, what are they sharing, how many link clicks are they getting? Can you attribute any conversions or sales to anything they shared? And that would be through UTMs or Google Analytic integrations that the platform should have. Other things would be your internal analytics, which might be like how often are employees engaging? Are they responding to any of the emails? Are they inviting other people? How often are they commenting? And how often are they logging back in? Or are they using mobile versus desktop? All those type of things will help you build your program better, and you'll be able to measure and report back accordingly.
Tracking success and sharing these insights with senior management will demonstrate the impact of the program against the bottom line and reputation for the brand. Employee advocacy is a strategy that helps amplify word-of-mouth communications for your brand. Storytelling and social media activities can be something that every department and employee can participate in to help tell your company's story to your audiences online. How to implement powerful storytelling to enhance your content, how to create your own social communities for improved customer loyalty, how to take advantage of short-form video across platforms, how to manage social media ad campaigns without relying on third-party cookies, how to maximize your return on investment in the changing social media landscape, and a whole lot more. You'll also get tips from industry experts to help you upscale your current social strategies. You'll see examples of what to do and what not to do from a number of B2B and B2C companies across a variety of industries. An important note, before taking this course, it's recommended you first complete the HubSpot Academy Social Media Certification or have a solid foundational knowledge about social media. This course will not cover basic social concepts. Throughout the course, you'll test your knowledge with short quizzes. At the end, you'll take a 60-question multiple-choice exam to receive your certificate. Be sure to share your accomplishment on LinkedIn and tag HubSpot Academy. One last thing. If you weren't aware, as part of this 100% free course, you'll also have access to some pretty cool free HubSpot marketing tools like email marketing, customer relationship management, lead forms, live chat, and ad management that you can use to skill up and grow your business. Check the resources section for more information on how to use these tools. Good luck and enjoy the course.